There we go. Now
And we're live.
And you're
Hello and welcome to the 60-second episode of Game Theory Gang. I'm Maddie Allen with helping us to host tonight, ChrispyMan of hexfire.io, Toby1 Hexobi of The Highest of Stakes, and many other parody videos. And Brisology.
How's it going, everybody? How's everyone's week been?
Hit the like and subscribe button if you're here to learn something new about PulseChain going viral, or if you tuned in for the 48-hour live stream that we had the other day.
I haven't stopped pulsing since.
Oh my God.
Oh Lord. Oh, that sounds messy.
Yeah, God, you guys are nasty.
Get
nasty.
that
Laughing at those jokes.
For shame. I thought only Papa B talked like that.
Yeah.
He changed his name to Papa Boehner.
Good.
It's still spelled the same way, but
dude, well, I mean, he's coming out with that B9 token and stuff, which I think is a super cool thing. I've heard a little bit about it so far, probably as much as anybody else. But it's like, yeah, it's like you need to kind of upgrade. It's kind of like Richard in the outrage marketing. It's like, we get it, we know, we got the joke, but it's like now, if especially you're like founding a token that's security based, it's like you probably want a handle that's a little more obscure, kind of like Pulse. Not everyone knows what Pulse was based on, so it works. But
we're lucky to have
Papa
in the community, and
I love Papa.
Shout out to everybody who is using a hardware wallet. Yes. I've been bookmarking every hack and random thing that happens on Twitter, and it's almost every day we get major news that somebody's getting ripped off, and so I have a description, or I have a link in the description below so that you can get a Trezor. Go ahead and click that link and get your hardware wallet now.
Dude, Papa is the man when it comes to security. It's like, I mean, I did what I think a lot of people did, which is like you start off with MetaMask. You know, Richard said it was all right. It was a new computer. I went that far, started with a brand new computer. But, you know, over time, it's like you're on that, and it's like all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I want to check Twitter or whatever. You end up doing stuff on that computer you shouldn't do, right? So he helped me figure out how to triage those accounts into a Trezor and then start transferring stuff over to the new Trezors I've got. And I mean, he's very, very direct, and he has yelled at me, but my security's on point because of him. You know, it's tough love.
I definitely want to talk about some related things to security. We're going to talk about Time Pays Me. We're going to talk about there was a centralized exchange listing of PulseChain. There's tons of PulseChain news to cover. There was an exchange that failed. They went out of business called Hotbit. We're going to talk about that too. First off, though, I wanted to get your guys' reactions to the 48-hour live stream that happened when we had the HEX meetup at the Bitcoin conference in Miami this past week.
I loved it, dude. It's like I didn't catch all of it, unfortunately, but it's like I caught large chunks. And then I got so hyped up when I came on. I think I was going to try to be on with you from like 12:30 to 2. And then I had like a hard stop at 2 because I was supposed to be up early to help a buddy of mine get a validator going and a Zoom call with Feeder. So I'm like, yeah, 2 o'clock, dude. Sorry, can't do any later than that. And then Tangent came on. We were talking about, you know, shitcoins and shiny object syndrome and all that stuff. And then you played that awesome clip of him with like, oh yeah, shut the fuck up. You know, it just killed me. And then
explaining what it means to be a hex maxi.
Yeah, right. You know, and it's like he did that was a great little clip. I love it. And then that was his intro. And then he came on, and I love Hex Tangent. I've been a fan of his since I was watching his Bitcoin streams. And so I just had such a good time. I stayed. And then it's like, I guess with it being late in the evening in the US, it's like we didn't have a lot of people queuing up to sign on. So I'm like, heck with it, dude. I'll just hang with you. So I made it almost his full 10-hour shift. I was there for like 8.5 hours. And then Freddie tagged in and helped out for the last bit. But it was great. We covered a ton of good information. OX Coast came on, and we got to like grill him with like all the questions people would have. So I need to go back and clip that section because that's super bullish for Pulse.
Wait, what was that about?
What was that about? It's about weight, but the fiat on ramp that they're working on. So he went into some detail in that interview that I had not heard elsewhere. So definitely, I'll clip that out or go find it. Just.
Do you want to talk about that for a second? Because I think it's important to tell the audience, if you have your weight, where you haven't collected yet, go get it. In their protocol, if you have weight and you deposit it in your, well, however their deposit works, maybe it's considered to be a stake, you can get as low as a 1% fee for fiat on and offboarding.
Right. Yeah, they're working out the numbers, he said, but basically
Really?
that would enable you to have a discount on the fees that would be affiliated. But they anticipate their fees being considerably better than like Transact and MoonPay, which isn't saying a whole lot because those fees are horrible, but probably not as good as like a centralized exchange like Coinbase, who is making all this money off of trading and other things, so they can kind of use that as like
Those
a loss
guys,
leader. Yep.
I don't know, man. Those guys charge me 1.5%, just to do sells and junk. So
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yeah.
if you use a DEX to sell into USDC and then transfer it to Coinbase, there's no charge to cash out to your bank.
Yep.
And somebody did, a couple of people put in the chat here. That's another thing. If you had weight prior to this fork, you do need to convert it to version 2, the new contract. You go to their website, go check out Coast, find out what they got going on. But yeah. So, anyways, there's utility for that token.
Yeah, and there's a midnight bonus claim. So basically, all the weight that was not claimed is being distributed to those that waited and claimed before PulseChain launched. And then and if I'm not mistaken, the distribution is such that if you played chicken perfectly and you minted your weight at the final hour, then you get a bigger percentage than someone that minted their weight like a year ago.
I did it when gas was 5.
Oh, nice.
5,
Nice.
like 0.0005.
Yeah. I did mine like the end of
Mm-hmm.
March, early May, so I wasn't quite down to the wire, but it's like I was afraid I'd forget and then just not mint it at all. So I'm just like, I got to get this out of the way.
I did mine in the last like 2 weeks.
That's not bad. That's pretty close.
Or no, it was probably like the last actually like 3 to 4 weeks, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I'll take it. But yeah, apparently you can go in there, and then I guess there's some sort of conversion that Crispy was mentioning about converting to V2, and then you claim whatever you're eligible for the midnight bonus.
Yeah, so that's really exciting to have airdrops that keep going on and on forever. Very good stuff. Brisology, thank you for helping me to host the 48-hour live stream. You, Tangent, and I hosted it around the clock and had 55 channels participate.
Wow.
I think that we really put ourselves on the map for a lot of bigger channels. And I think that we made all of crypto pretty jealous that the Bitcoin conference, they were only posting at times 1,500 or 1,200 live viewers, and we were getting 500 at the same time as them, at times taking up half of their audience. And at other times we got up to 1.6 thousand viewers at the same time. The first stream got 22,000 views on YouTube, which might not sound a lot if you're in the TikTok generation, but having people watch for half an hour at a time is almost unheard of. So,
yeah, I just want to say thank you for for doing the conference to begin with. Man, that just to think about the amount of work it takes to organize that many cats.
Well, I did it all on the fly, and that's a testament to this community, because I just messaged. Those are all people who were standing by, ready to make content.
Yeah, again, that is a testament to our community and to the Hexicans, and quite frankly, we know that our community is just spectacular. And I don't want to jump the gun, but you can see that with the way that the PulseChain is being ranked amongst all the chains. But that's just kind of a signal about how strong our community is. I was going to say something. Sandy Beach, I want to say thank you. You said I'm doing a awesome job hosting. Thank you very much.
Oh, you stole my thunder though. I was going to say that a minute ago, and then now Sandy Beach beat me to it.
Nice. Well,
Because I just got done telling you how professional you were.
that's true. You were.
You did a good job.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone that watched. It was an honor to host it with Tangent and Maddie, and that was a ton of fun. And I can't wait until we do our 72-hour live stream.
That's right. Once PulseChain forks again, then it doubles everything again.
Right.
Yeah.
Be a 96-hour stream then, right?
Yeah, the other thing too, Maddie, is I don't know how you pulled it off. I know you did it on the fly, but you really did bring in a lot of different people that are from different areas, right, of the Hexiverse. So that was pretty good, right? I mean, you had like people from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like every nook and cranny, people that have never talked to each other before. It was great.
Yeah, for sure. And part of this whole being time locked thing, I think, is really working out for our community, because I think a lot of other communities, they can kind of roll in and roll out on each other, but we're all stuck together for lots of years.
Hey, speaking of which, I have seen a lot of concern, FUD, I don't know if it's intentional, about the HEX price. And, you just said we are locked together in this community for many, many years. So I think a piece that people forget about is there is billions of dollars locked for 15 years on the Ethereum chain. So you can rest assured there's going to be sharks and whales that are going to do their best to defend that price. And plus, just with the nature of arb trading, between the two prices back and forth, I mean, there's opportunities now if you want to bridge back and forth and sell EHEX for PHEX and vice versa. Then I think we're gonna stay pretty close to parity for a long time.
One of the things that maybe people were disappointed in is that we all thought that Richard was going to live stream with Crypto Banter, and I'm the one who, I guess, leaked that, because they had told me that in person. And now I'm starting to wonder if it wasn't them kind of testing us or testing me to kind of see like how influential are these hexagons at the Bitcoin conference, and what I had heard was that people kept going up to Crypto Banter being like, is it true you're streaming with Richard? And so that rumor that they just started because we had hotel rooms next to each other really, got out into the like people were telling me about it who didn't know that I had been the source or whatever. And so that was pretty crazy. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they were just kind of testing out to see how predominant the Hex community and PulseChain community is, or if maybe they had something set up or they thought they did or whatever. But the anticipation continues to build, and at the same time, it seems like there are still lots of really great content creators out there who are letting the community know what's going on with PulseChain. Randy says maybe Rand used you hoping to get Richard on. Maybe.
Stranger things, right? Hey, Maddie, I'm curious if you've got any, I'm sure you covered it on the live stream, but for those that may have not have caught where you were given the breakdown of like things that you saw or did that were exceptionally interesting or cool while you were physically there, like for those of us that couldn't be there, I think that'd be kind of fun to hear.
Yeah. So even though my clavicle was still broken, I was like able to make sure that Pascal could be like the leader of the in-person stuff. And so, because I had put it in the budget to fly him in from Europe to be the photographer. And of course, that was one of the most special things it seemed like people got out of, well, one of many things that they got out of the previous HEX conference that I had hosted in Las Vegas, was that people had all these great memories and these professional photos taken. And so we did that. And, I kept checking in with everybody because I couldn't be there for every adventure that people had meeting up in person. And mean, the feedback I got was overwhelmingly positive. And I went to dinner with everybody after the live stream ended, and it was a blast. We were all just talking game theory until our brains exploded.
And then I heard, or I actually saw on a TikTok that they had pretty much co-opted your idea with a DeLorean.
Yes.
You want to speak to that?
Yeah. So there was a marketing firm that had bought a DeLorean and put all the goodies onto it, and yeah, they had a great display there. But their whole pitch that like Bitcoin is the currency of the future, it just doesn't hit the same as pay your future self with time locking hex. So they lost, we won, as usual.
Right.
They also, the Bitcoin conference stole We're Live. They put that on their homepage for clicking the
Shameless.
live stream link. So like, yep, all right, check that. We do it better. They had a funeral procession of a casket that they said was like the fiat currency. It was well done, but it again didn't
Which
hit
is
as hard.
oddly reminiscent of Freddie Quote's music
Oh,
video.
yeah, it didn't hit the same as Freddie Quote's, like an RG3 doing spin moves on top of a casket that was made for Eric Wall, like for his credibility, I should say.
Right.
And
and just so people know, they're buddies now.
of course,
He's friendly with Eric now, right?
Yes, they are. Gosh, there were so many like little things that happened. Like I jumped into a picture because I'm a fan of Tiffany Fong. She broke the a bunch
FTX,
of intimate details of Sam Bankman-Fried and the FTX scandal, all with like the attitude. She was like, I'm just like a regular chick. I'm like a victim of FTX and stuff, and so I thought, I've always thought like her whole demeanor is really interesting because it shows us what a citizen journalist can do who's not being like paid off by Binance or something. And so that was, so I jumped in the picture with her, and then Big Boy jumped in on the other side. And so we're both getting picture, like we're both posing for the picture. And then Altcoin Daily is like photobombing in the background, looking like really salty, like, oh, why'd you guys leave me out? Like, don't you know I have 1.3 million followers? And I'm like, well, a hexologist ratios you literally every day in his sleep just because, and he has 50 times less followers. And it's because Altcoin Daily wrecks so many people, is why they have such low engagement. So that was another testament to like, again, this idea of like the influencers in Hex seem to be sticking around. I wonder why.
So guys, I had an idea. I was just kind of thinking about this right before the stream, and so I'm still kind of like hashing it out. I'm sorry. Do you mind if we switch subjects?
Brisology, I want to hear whatever you're about to lay down.
Yes, please.
Because the guy earlier was asking about like the price of EHEX, and he's like, "Oh no, what's going to go on with Hex?" And I'm thinking that Hex actually might be like the dark horse of this next like bull run. I think there might be some hidden fundamentals that make this
EHEX?
maybe well, yeah, more or less. I think the liquidity bonds will drag everything up, but I was just kind of thinking about how scarce Hex actually is getting, and how a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Hex, and therefore they actually might be trading it for other assets that they think will run harder. But essentially, this is just making Hex even more scarce. And a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of hidden anti-inflation mechanisms inside of Hex. For example, zombie shares, or zombie TShares, if you will, and how
Zombie, you say?
Yeah, how stakes that have ended, but they're bleeding out, they are actually absorbing a lot of hex inflation that will never reach the market. And so then I started thinking about, well, now that we got PulseChain, what if people start good accounting a lot of stakes that are kind of bleeding out just because it's affordable? And so this might kind of like start dragging up PHEX, and I think it's going to drag up EHEX along with it. I mean, the liquidity bonding seems to be
Great
pretty
idea.
strong. The last time I saw them, they were kind of pair bonded or reaching parity, and so you know what? Something tells me that Hex in this next like real big major run, it might go a lot harder than we all ever thought it would. And I
Well,
don't
what
know.
are
What
you
do you?
thinking? So last week, I think I presented an argument why, like, I would trade a small amount of Hex for PulseChain and PulseX because I have more Hex coming out in the future, but I don't have any PulseChain and PulseX coming in the future. But I've evolved my thinking on this in the past week because TShares are also extremely deflationary. So maybe I have more Hex coming out in the future, but I'm always going to be able to buy less TShares for that same amount and that same duration. So I think you're right that a lot of people won't understand the power of the T-share until they start to see Hex do another run, and then they have some explaining to do.
I think that Briz is 100% correct. Well, 99% correct. I disagree with.
I'm offended.
Yeah, you're offended. I disagree with some of the effects you mentioned, but it doesn't really
Okay.
matter. I mean, they're
Well, which
it's
one?
it's on a scale.
Which ones?
That
Seriously.
there's really significant enough T-shares that are past due to make a difference at the moment, but it's really a moot point. I mean, it will
Well,
always
couldn't
make a
you
difference. But
couldn't you see that with hexfire.io?
yeah,
I mean,
I've looked at it. That's why I'm saying that.
Okay, got it. Okay, I just didn't know if you had like
He's
quantified it
bringing
I'm
or
it
if it
being
was
back.
just like
I'm trying to move
general.
off of that. I probably shouldn't have mentioned it.
No,
But it's
you're fine.
true. It's true. It is a placeholder that takes up yield, but it's a very minor thing. I think
Well, and
that
then does that help ratchet the T-share price for future stakers if you get rid of those old ones?
yeah, it does, but it's a very small effect. Like one big EESer does more, for it than that. The system's so damn stable because of the OA, and that's what people don't get. I mean, it's really hard to like move the needle. I mean, I don't mean price needle. I mean T-shares and how all that stuff works because you got to come in with such power to make a change. You got to be Godwill. I mean, that's the kind of level that to make it move just a little bit. But that doesn't mean that the effect that Briz is describing isn't true. It is true. It's just going to happen over years. But Axis has been talking about this a lot, and I was talking about it as well. I think that, and I've said this from the beginning, Hex is going to be the heat sink of value. And why is that going to be the case? And this is, I'll try to steal Axis's line. But people are going to come find out that it is the best yield you can get trustlessly, immutably. I do like the ink. Okay, I do like that. I do like providing liquidity. And PulseChain felt it was my duty to do some of that. And I think the returns are awesome, but they're not so awesome if they're down to 25%, right? And maybe some of those pools go away. They're not guaranteed that they're always. I mean, they farms not guaranteed they'll always be there. There is price action, like we're just talking about. T-share rates are going up. So I can lock in my hex and maybe see a lot better gains. So, like Briz was describing, it's a chance that it's a dark horse.
Here's another thing I was just kind of thinking about is maybe in this next run, because it's the first cycle for all these PulseChain coins. They run really hard, they do very, very well. And then in a cycle, like the second cycle from here, they might have such price appreciation that in order for them to just get, just a couple more X's, it's going to be kind of a tall order. And therefore, that's where the APY of staked hex is really going to shine, because it's like, you know, people have already got like the mad gains. The mad gains have been basically tapped out, but now people want that, 20% a year, 30% a year.
And for a lot of people, even if it doesn't matter the size of the bag. Maybe it does matter that you have to be a little bit bigger than like the lowest person in the system. But if you're gaining value in Pulse, right? Who is comfortable putting 100% into LP? Who is comfortable putting 100% into farms? No, we don't do that, right? Just in general, people don't do that. Yes, some people do, right? But on average, the bigger picture, you spread it out a little bit. So am I going to sit on Pulse, all my Pulse all the time? Or am I going to convert some of it and get yield? Right. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, And it's just like when you talk about the PulseX, love the idea. I see that. I can see on the chart that people were gathering their PulseX, right? They're waiting for the single-sided staking. We're going to have a huge increase probably in price, but are you going to put all of your PulseX in? Maybe that's a little bit less risk maybe to do that, but so we'll
I
see.
think what we're going to see, and people have already pointed this out, but I really think that as that the HEX system matures, and especially TShares, what you're going to see is the price of HEX. If people start to EES because the price is going up, you're going to see more value transferring to stakers in the form of a higher payout of HEX per TShare per day. Because when people emergency end stake and they create more bonuses for others, then they go and dump the price, and then the price recovers. But what you're left with is the higher amount of accrued HEX.
Well, and I want to point out too to you as you're talking about this, right? Something that probably all of us have missed. Do you know that HEX is now paying on average over 40% APY again?
Nice.
I'll take it.
on the
come at me,
chains?
bro. Come at me, bro.
On both chains or just?
Yeah, 40%.
Right? Yeah, I was freaked out for a minute with Staker app, because it's like I had all the same wallets being tracked on the Pulse side and the ETH side. Little cruddy that you have to add them all on the Pulse side. They don't just automatically come over for you apparently, but whatever. Added my wallets in as much as I could fit, and I was not only several ranks lower, but I was even in a different league on Pulse, and I'm like, what the hell? It's like I've worked hard to get to that level. It's like what's happening? Is like, is there something funky with the total TShare amount on the PulseChain already? What? And then I just deleted all of my wallets on the PulseChain side and re-added them, and then it still was jacked up. And then like 8 hours later, it's like fixed, so it all matches again. But for a second, I was like, dude, did people move the TShare rate that hard already in Pulse? It's like, that's just insane to imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing I'll throw at you is you were going to see large numbers of people come in, right? We've already seen the adoption, so we've got a divergence on stakers. Now we don't have all the full data yet on PulseChain up, but we'll see that soon, right? But on the ETH side, even you would look at it and go, "Oh, things look pretty dire," and we have less stakers every day, right? Less current stakers or miners every day. But if you look a little bit deeper into the numbers, what's happening is we're getting new people in every day, and the people who've been around for a while are converting over to PulseChain, and so it looks like it's a net decrease, right? But it doesn't mean that there isn't adoption. It's just adoption in a different direction. So we got to get to the point where we can do some do some stats across chains, so we can actually combine them. But it appears to be super bullish. But that's, of course, everybody makes their own decision, not financial advice. But I can tell you the LPs over there are doing great because there's so little LP.
So
I
hit
just wanna-
hit the like and subscribe button if you're tuning in now. We got 430 people watching live and thousands in the replay. I know Brisology is keeping track of the questions that people are asking in the chat, but I want to add a little bit of structure to the mix here and just get your guys' feedback, kind of like a panel on some topics here. Because I think one, there's lots of questions that people are having, and certainly I did not appreciate all the cool stuff that people can do on PulseChain. But I'm almost wondering if maybe just because we have so many people watching at this moment, whether it makes sense maybe for me to run through real quickly what my workflow looks like to onboard people into PulseChain. And then I think you guys are going to be more valuable than I am to the conversation of yield farming on PulseChain. And then maybe after that, we can talk about just different news stories and statistics to get people hyped about all that. But I think just giving people like a clear path. We're 31 minutes in. And so does that sound all right?
Yeah, that's great.
Sweet. So basically, I saw Hexologist posted a video. I am typically giving onboards like a little bit more information in a little bit different directions than he did. So this, I hope, will be kind of a compliment to that. Basically, if you're somebody who you've onboarded people into PulseChain or PulseX and you want to share with them what the price is, because we have prices now. Compared to last week, we didn't have prices, and it was really depressing and hard to explain to everybody, why don't we have prices? What's going on? Did PulseChain really launch? Why doesn't it have a price? And I'm just sitting here I'm an expert on the topic, and I don't have a good answer other than the bridge is warming up.
Yeah.
But so what I'm doing now is I'm taking two different websites. There's one called prc20s.com. And then I just plug in my onboard's address, and then I text them the entire URL with their address loaded in. So it'd be prc20s.com/0x their address, right? And then they can click on the link, and it automatically pops up exactly how much money they have in Pulse and PulseX. Another website where people can go, maybe it has a little bit less professional of a name, but it's called fatty.io. PHATTY.io. And I don't know, both of these websites are kind of associated with things that I typically steer people away from.
There's one more, Maddie, that I think Mintra put out.
Okay.
And it's lightbeam.xyz.
Oh, sweet. Oh, that's really great. Because the other two, they're run by well-respected members of the community. But again, I don't like promoting things that are made by the same people as leverage trading or gambling.
Bingo.
And so as much as I, support, and we'll still talk about all that, it's I want to direct people to something a little bit more wholesome. And so you said lightbeam.xyz, and that's more associated with the team that makes NFTs. So I guess that's less harmful to people's wellness.
Yeah, I think Gerardo tweeted that out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I had forgotten about it. So thank you for sharing that. So now we have 3 sources. When I sent people to, let's see, pulsex.com/info or whatever, when I sent people to Dex Screener, those were kind of more complicated than they were ready for. So there's 5 sources now that we've shared for price. Any others?
PLSburn.com.
Yeah, PLSburn I really like because, well, I actually even use that as kind of a retort to what felt like a bit of concern trolling in the chat, and I've warned that person and they backed off, so hopefully they will mind their P's and Q's. But they're talking about the price looking terrible, and I'm like, go to PLSburn, because not only does it show you the price on Pulse, underneath it, it shows, or to the side of it, it shows you the cumulative price of eHEX and HEX. So then you can see okay, well, half of that's over here and half of it's over here. And it's actually not, 2.5 cents. It's 5.1 cent or whatever, if you add them together.
What we got, the other one is hexdailystats.com.
Yep, oldie but a goodie.
That has the prices now for PulseChain, PulseX, as well as EHEX and PHEX. And Brisology is helpfully sharing his screen of
Yes.
PLSburn.com. Is that right?
Yes, and this is what Toby's talking about right here, where they're both combined.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
That says in really, really small numbers,
Blue.
4.7 cents. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Combined? Okay.
And then the thing is too, it's, quick math. It's like you look at it and you're like, okay, well, if we're at pretty much 2.6 here, we're at 2.1 over there. So then if there's people, and Kinetics was talking about this on Wake Up Hex the other day, about there is some decent liquidity over on V2 on the Ethereum side. So if people for the Hex and then the bridged over Hex with EHEX. So if people wanted to go over there and, buy EHEX at a discount and then bridge it back across, like take their PHEX over. It's not PHEX, I know, but take their Hex from Pulse, bridge it over, sell that for EHEX, which you're going to get more of it because it's lower price, and then take that and bridge it back across. Then you can do that if you feel compelled to do it. It's right now the liquidity is not super deep, but when it is, the ARB plays are going to be really easy for people, and there's not going to be much slippage. And I think all of that kind of lends itself to the prices getting closer and closer and finally just almost being identical.
And if you don't know what any of that means, that's okay, because we're we're going to get you up to speed here.
Or Toby, come on.
Sorry, man, I'm trying.
Don't worry, we
we
covered your face now, so
it's very
with messages.
specialized language that we're using.
Yes.
So let's say somebody wanted to buy Pulse, and I've played around with this, even though I bought, I didn't buy. Even though I sacrificed heavily for PulseChain and I got free tokens that I was super grateful for and didn't have any expectations of. Other people are coming along now and they want a piece of the action, right? Especially with Altcoin Daily and BitBoy and who else? Crypto Banter. Literally all the crypto influencers are head over heels for PulseChain right now. And it's just getting started. So for people who are wanting to buy, here's what I've done. So I've onboarded money from my bank to Coinbase. It's easy to set up a Coinbase account. If I wanted to keep it simple, I would just deal with ETH. That is going to cost me a little bit extra, 2% of spread. But then I don't need to explain the complicated part of having a little bit of ETH and a whole lot of USDC. When you buy the USDC, it doesn't give you that hidden fee. So if somebody's super, super new, then maybe they're just going into ETH. If somebody is putting in a larger amount of money or they're more experienced, they're using Coinbase to buy USDC and a little bit of ETH. And then we move on to step 2. Because
just real quick, I just want to add that one thing is when dealing with Coinbase, quite personally, I recommend only transferring USDC in and out of it.
But you have to have ETH for the transaction fees.
True.
Yep.
Yeah, at least going into it, they pay it on the way out, but yeah.
But then in order to do anything with the USDC on Ethereum, you also have to have ETH.
True, exactly.
Yes. Gotta have a little for gas.
Oh, we got one of our favorite content creators, Sami, is here. He is telling us fantastic job or fantastic show, baby dolls. I'll be catching up later as I train. Looking forward to seeing on-chain stats for PulseChain and PulseX as they come out. Transparency equals the competitive edge. I think I heard him call out hexfire.io recently and say some positive things.
Yeah, he said some nice stuff. My cupcake.
Yeah, good job, ChrispyMan.
My scrumptious, straight-backed, slipper-wearing.
Orange juice, ice cube drinking.
Ice cube drinking.
That you pet. Yeah. I love it. And so step 1, you have your Coinbase and you put money into it from your bank account. Step 2 is you go to metamask.io. You write down your 12 words and protect them. as if it were the keys to your entire crypto life savings. And so you're writing that down on a piece of paper. You're not taking a screenshot. You're not sending it to technical support that is fake, that's trying to scam you on Twitter or Telegram. Any of us, we would never ask for your seed words, but our imposters would. And so you're being really careful with those 12 words. You're never sharing them with anybody. Ideally, you're ordering a Trezor from the link in the description below. So step 2 is you're taking self-custody of your crypto from Coinbase. And so that comes with some risk that you would lose it yourself. That's why you might write down your seed words twice, right? And keep them in separate locations. So there's different ways you can advance that security and learn more and get more comfortable with it as your crypto becomes a greater and greater part of your net worth. So that's step 2 is sending your funds from Coinbase to your MetaMask wallet self-custody using your public address there from MetaMask. So yay, we have step 2 completed. We've taken self-custody of our crypto. Now, another complex part that we'll give people a taste of is you're on Ethereum, and the question is, should you be bridging whatever crypto you bought on Coinbase? Should you be bridging that into PulseChain, or should you be just buying the Pulse on the Ethereum side? Now, in the past week, the situation has been evolving. And when I first was going over these instructions for people, we didn't have a bridge that was turning around transactions in 15 or 30 minutes, right? The bridge was taking days. So the first part that I was practicing was being able to buy wrapped Pulse that is on the Ethereum side of things. And so what I was doing for that is I was taking Ethereum or USDC, and I was going in my MetaMask to uniswap.exchange. And then I was using only this one contract address that I did my own research on, and I asked Access Alive, and I bridged over from PulseChain and realized that that's where my Pulse was going to, is this contract address, and it starts with 0x97AC4, and it ends with 755341. And
that's my address. Thanks, Maddie. I was
No,
wondering if you
it's
could send me
not.
that. I'm
No,
just
it's-
kidding. So that's the bridge address if you're looking at it on Block Explorer.
That's the wrapped PLS address on Ethereum.
Got it. Okay.
And so I'm gonna drop that in the description.
Yeah.
In the live chat right now.
Thank you.
If my phone will let me paste it over here for my notes. There we go. And so I'll throw it up here on the screen, but that's something that you definitely need. And I guess YouTube makes it really hard to copy paste that out. But I can just throw it into Etherscan real quick and post that link, so it should be clickable for people, and then that'll make it.
That's cool.
See, all this stuff is since we're so early, it's not as easy as just going to ethhex.com or something.
Yep. Hey, Maddie, I got a question since you're talking about wrap Pulse. I must confess my ignorance with the wrapping and unwrapping functions of things, and then my ego is a little more in check when I am sleepy. So last night I posted on Twitter and I said, please forgive me if this is a super, super dumb question, but I had the problem I was trying to solve is I had an onboard that had used Rocket Dollar, and they had done it after the Pulse sack, but they sacked the Pulse X. So they have no Pulse. And the tricky part for them in particular with a retirement account is you can't just send in from another address.
I understand.
Right. So that was really complicated. So I'm like, how do they get Pulse so they can do what they want to do with their Pulse X? So I was thinking I'm just brainstorming it, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Wrapped Pulse is available over on Ethereum. Couldn't they just buy that and then bridge it across and that unwraps it,
Yes.
right? And then they can have. But I've heard that that's not.
But then they can't unwrap it.
They
Yeah.
can't unwrap it because they need Pulse to unwrap it, right? So they're
Yes.
still stuck. So the wrapping is different than bridging.
Only, yeah, correct.
Because I feel like the bridging term has been kind of used interoperably with wrapping, and that's not accurate.
Well, the assets get wrapped as you put them through the bridge, and they become wrapped on the other side, right?
Yeah. So like, so something that's wrapped can go onto another chain, and then when it goes back to its chain of origin, then if it's really its chain of origin, then you can unwrap it and use it as normal. So,
But you need Pulse to
for
wrap it.
example, like when I'm buying wrapped Pulse on Ethereum, I am buying something that somebody bridged over. They wrapped it and they bridged it over. And then I can take it, I can hold it on Ethereum, never put it on Pulse, and sell it off to somebody else who wants it. Or I can bridge it back, and I've done this where I bridged back the wPLS that was on Ethereum, and then I bridged it back. That's one transaction. Then I swapped it on Pulse X for unwrapped, basically. So you swap it back from wPLS to PLS, and then it's regular PLS.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's a great question.
So just like put a little pin in at the end of your syllabus there of what we're going to talk about tonight. If we could discuss like reasonable solutions for people that don't have Pulse that need it, it'd be a good thing to cover.
Yeah, so
we don't have to do it now, so I don't want to take you out of your flow, but it's like
no. I mean, that's a great question. Like, so there were 80,000 people who got one Pulse with their Pulse X sacrifice, and then that's not enough to swap for Pulse. So what are they supposed to do? It's kind of unclear. Like, we were also thinking that a centralized exchange listing would help some of those people, and we got that today. OKX is the third largest exchange in the world. They announced their plan to list PulseChain. Deposits were supposed to go live like tonight, and then in 3 days or something, then withdrawals would go live, and they're pairing that with USDT.
Cool.
Brisology
like
has brought up
the option.
Yeah, just so people know that they're not actually allowing withdrawals until like the 26th, so that's like 3 days from now.
That's all right.
And it just says they just say blockchain is a PulseChain is a public blockchain that offers fast and cost-effective transactions. There was something here I wanted to actually. I thought was kind of important. Okay, I guess it's just that they're just showing everything. They're like, look, there's 135 trillion of them. And this was the important part. It was that OKX will not support the airdrop of PLS. So I think what that basically means is that if there's any airdrops to PLS, they're not going to support those. So make sure that you do not keep your coins on this exchange. Take them off.
I think how I interpreted that was that if you had one Ethereum on OKX, they were not going to give you one Pulse.
Okay.
But like in general, like you can't get airdrops if you're holding your coins on centralized exchanges. So that's fine. The problem of like unwrapping is there isn't a clear solution. Some people are saying that the dip catchers thing might help. And we'll go ahead and wait to see that that's launched and audited, and look forward to seeing if that'll be the solution that we need. And then Toby, you might need to talk to tax people and find out okay, if somebody, if you're having your IRA account and it is sent 1,000 Pulse,
right?
And then it uses that to unwrap 500,000 Pulse, and then it sends back to the address that sent it the same amount of Pulse that it got. Is that
right? I was thinking that same thing.
ChrispyMan?
Yeah.
You're muted.
You're muted, bro.
Unmute.
I'm talking. Hey, listen, I was just going to tell you with Rocket Pool, this is my understanding, right?
Rocket Dollar.
Yeah, Rocket Dollar, sorry. I
That's
have
okay.
one of those, right? So here's my
Cool.
understanding. I can't send myself stuff to make a profit, but if I have that person's address, I can send whatever they want and they can receive it because it's not self-dealing,
Got
you
it.
know? That's my understanding. So maybe just straight up one for one,
Yeah,
value at
almost like
that
a
moment
loan.
and done.
Yeah. Because I thought about that, like, well, hey, I can just send you, 2,000 pulse or something, so you have plenty for gas. In worst case scenario, to just unwrap or sell some of your Pulse X or whatever, and then if you care to, you could send it back. I mean, that seemed like it'd be pretty transparent if you were audited or whatever.
Yeah,
But I just don't know the rules if it's just like hard no.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
the
And of
other piece
course,
would be if it's like if you don't know where it came from, then it's plausible deniability. Like, I don't know who sent it to me. It's like people screw up and send shit to the wrong addresses all the time. I ended up with some
well,
extra pulse. Thanks.
you can dig into the details of this a little bit further underneath
I will.
self-directed IRAs. And when you have a self-directed IRA, you are able to swap and trade and buy things. I mean, it's
Within
not
it,
like you're
yeah.
not allowed to do it. You can do it. There's no rule that says you can't do it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do, the sacrifices and all this other stuff as well.
Hey,
So.
along those lines, just so people are aware, apparently there are some rules in regard to mining that would apply to PulseChain validating. So apparently you cannot do that. I got to do a little more due diligence from what I've read, and it was directly from the IRS. It's like pretty clear that you can't do it. And Rocket Dollar also said it, but I want
Yeah.
to check with my
So,
own tax accountant. But it's like because you're mining and it involves equipment, it's almost like a business entity that you're running, and you can't do that in or
so we're
in or
getting
out.
pretty specialized, and the
Yeah,
goal of
sorry,
this
sorry.
segment was to like tell people how to buy Pulse, and
But I
now we're
love
into
rabbit
like
holes.
people who mine who are in like self-directed IRAs and stuff. So that's
Yeah. Little
probably a really,
got
really,
it.
really small
Too
percentage.
specific. Yep.
Now here's another mystery though. Is like how do you add into MetaMask the thing that you just bought, right? So you're not sending funds directly to these addresses, but when you're figuring out like to import a token in MetaMask, right? When you're on the Ethereum side, you need to import the contract address that I posted just recently with 0x97AC4, right? And then when you take those coins and you use pulseramp.com, right? It's going to take you to like bridge.pulsechain.com. It's going to charge you a 0.3% fee to bridge. You're going to pay like $20 in Ethereum fees to bridge over. The bridge is working faster, so I think it worked for me faster than 30 minutes today. And then the part where a lot of people would have gotten stuck, I think, is that now you have to add the token address of Pulse that has been wrapped on the PulseChain side. Okay. And so that is a different contract address. And that is one that starts with 0xa1077A. How fun is
Yeah,
that?
the one thing I like about PulseX is like when those are added in, it even though it has the same ticker, it will say below it like wPulse from Ethereum versus just wrapped Pulse.
Okay, cool. So it's,
Yep.
and in this
So
case,
it
it's
helps keep
bridge
it clear.
wPLS from ETH to PLS. But yeah, basically the idea is you used Ethereum, you bought wrapped Pulse on the Ethereum side, you bridged it over, and now you're like, where are my tokens? Why aren't they showing up? What happened? And then you're adding this contract, you're adding this token into MetaMask, and then it's showing up as wrapped Pulse. Then you're going to pulsex.com and you're swapping the wrapped Pulse for Pulse. It's costing you like 200 Pulse to unwrap it, which if you already have Pulse, you're in. And if not, you need to talk to somebody to get you into the nightclub.
Exactly.
So, and then somebody was asking like, oh, what do I do if I want to buy $75,000? I've noticed even making $2,000 buys, there's like 1% slippage on the Ethereum side. And I also questioned why I was buying on the Ethereum side, because I was thinking that there might have been like a 15% premium on the Ethereum side. I think the reason for that is because people are just so uncomfortable like wrapping USDC and sending it over there, because they don't want to get the contract addresses mixed up for that and then wind up losing all their money. I would say you want to go down that more complicated route because I'm strongly guessing that there's way more liquidity on the PulseChain side. And so your 75K buy is going to do much better. It's going to eat less slippage, and you might be buying a lower price anyway over there. So if you're just putting $500 in and you don't understand all of this, like differences between USDC contracts on PulseChain, then maybe you want to buy on the Ethereum side of things. And maybe you just want to speculate on the price of Pulse and you don't want to even bridge it over, and you're just going to leave it over there on Ethereum and sell it, hope that it retains a premium. I doubt if it will, but I mean, if number goes up, then number goes up across all chains. And there you are, ready to sell to the next person who wants to hold wrapped Pulse on Ethereum. Although if the cost of gas keeps going up, then you're looking at $200 swap fees, right? And so, again, this is why PulseChain is being created, is to have hopefully lower fees.
Hey, Maddie, just to kind of backtrack a bit and maybe cliff note a little bit of what you're saying, because I know that I was one of the ones that kind of pulled us far afield and got a little too specific. But just to go back to like your model that you're using, which is like keep it really simple. It's like just like bullet point. It's like put it into Coinbase, send it to can you do that? Just like, and then just kind of get us up to where we are now.
So you go from your bank account to Coinbase, and then you take Coinbase and you go to MetaMask. You send it to your public address, and then you find the correct contract address, which I showed on the screen earlier, to buy wrapped Pulse on Ethereum from uniswap.exchange. And the correct contract address that I believe to be true is 0x97AC ... ending in 755341. And then now you own wrapped Pulse. Yay. Pat yourself on the back and make some noise on Twitter, eh?
Cool. So, and that pretty much addresses the question that the guy popped up a second ago saying, hey, if I wanted to buy 75K of Pulse tomorrow.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah. And then if he wants to wait until the 26th, he could do it at OKX if he, chose to.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, it's as the network gets more users and more experienced and more stuff built on it, then there will be even more opportunities to buy. I remember here, I don't remember myself, but I've heard that if you wanted to buy Bitcoin back when it was pennies, you had to send a money order halfway around the world to Japan.
Yeah.
To a little place called Magic the Gathering Online Exchange, Mt. Gox. How did that turn out? So nobody said that this would be completely easy, but hopefully these steps are clear.
Yeah, as soon as the centralized exchanges that accept fiat, as soon as they all start listing the PulseChain coin, PLS, it's going to be infinitely easier to get into the PulseChain. So right now there's just an extra jump and step, but when it's harder to acquire, that is opportunity. When it gets easier to acquire, the opportunities have diminished a little bit.
Yep. And much like the early days of Hex, it's like, for smaller amounts of money, staker is still a very viable option. in my opinion. So
Can you buy Pulse and PulseX on there?
you can buy Pulse.
Cool.
Yep. So
On
if
which
you
which did you
on
say Staker?
on Staker app, yeah, because there were some people that I was talking to. I forget who it was that told me now. It's like Hippie something. You've probably seen him in chat before and stuff. But he DM'd me and he was like, "Hey man," he's like, you can buy Pulse. Like if you've got copied Hex liquid on your Staker app, you can use the Hex as gas. That's one of the like nice functions of Staker is that you can actually use whatever you're holding as gas. Now, if you got copied over USDC, it's not worth anything, right? And if you got Pulse airdrop to you, it's probably minimal if you didn't sacrifice for Pulse on Staker. So you feel like you might be stuck there too. But if you can use your Hex to pay the gas, then you can go ahead and get yourself some Pulse that way.
There's another website called eth2pls.com,
Yeah, I saw that
and
last night.
they're meant just for you to get a small amount of Pulse, because they'll charge you, like an $8 fee. But then they'll charge up to like $75 fee if you want even more. But the $8 fee gets you like 30,000 PLS, which is enough to convert maybe another asset into more PLS. So if you bridge your stuff over from Ethereum, you can then convert some of that into more PLS, and then you're good to go. So there's that website as well.
Now, is that
But like I said, they charge a fee, so it's not a charity.
well with that one? And then there was another one in my Twitter confessional last night of like how dumb I was about wrapping things. Someone mentioned, I believe it was safetrade.com, that you could
I heard about
buy,
Safe Trade.
yeah, that you could buy Pulse with ETH directly. But it's like I haven't researched either of those things enough. I don't know if you have to connect a wallet or if they're safe. It's like I haven't looked into it.
I've heard
So I
of
can't say.
stories I've heard of people depositing and getting their Pulse and withdrawing it. So I hear it's good.
I love this comment here. Damn man, complicated stuff without clear directions for people who aren't computer wizards. I totally agree. Look, when Hex came out, I was scrounging around on Ether Delta, a website that doesn't even exist anymore, trying to figure out how to use it and stumbling all over myself. So I can totally relate. It takes more effort earlier on.
Hey, I've got an idea for people smarter than me, and I'm happy to give away $1 million ideas. I've done it before. We can talk about that another time maybe. But it's like I look back, I'm like, oh, I should have done that one myself, but I gave it away and someone ran with it and made a bunch of money. But anyhow, the thing that I discover is so difficult for people is I was talking to someone and they'd been into SHIB and they really liked it and they had done really well with it. Well, of course they're using Robinhood app. And then you try to talk to them about all of these steps, and it's like their eyes glaze over, and it's too complicated, and it's a barrier of entry. So I just thought, man, ideally, and maybe this is years out. Hex Tangent and I talked about it during my 8.5 hours with him on the 48-hour stream. So I'm not sure where it's at, but maybe I can clip it too. But the idea is like instead of being the Robinhood app, it could be like the Sheriff of Nottingham app, right? Because like Robinhood's kind of ironic in the fact that it's not really helping poor people because they're like in bed with hedge funds and whatever. So it could be the Sheriff of
They
Nottingham
took
app,
away the buy
right?
button.
Yeah, and then essentially on the back end, it could be maybe Gnosis safe or whatever. So it's still true DeFi where your money is held, and then in the background behind this beautiful interface on the front, if you say, hey, I want to, I've deposited my USDC or my USD and converted it to USDC, which all happens behind the screen, right, on your Gnosis safe or whatever wallet. And then I want to take that USDC and I want to swap it for Hex or Pulse or whatever, then you could do all that in an interface similar to what people see on like a Robinhood app. But it's still DeFi because everything is happening behind the scenes through your own self-custodied wallets. So I just thought, somebody do it because that would be a huge barrier lifted for people to get in if they didn't have to do the manual stuff of like all the stuff that we do, right?
Yeah, there may be regulatory problems with that, but I agree. Easier is better.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, and I appreciate you guys reminding me about Staker app, and that's really cool that that works.
I'd like to just say what I did today is then, you know, I kind of recommend maybe everybody do it for their loved ones if they can. You know, we got a lot of youngsters out there that aren't going to be able to really invest in crypto, right? So I made my nieces and nephews like basically like future wallets. I generated a bunch of
Nice.
wallets, and I threw in some coins in there for them,
Nice.
and I will let them have access to the seed words when like probably their 21st birthday. So
Nice.
so if you guys, you know, in the audience, if you can, you know, throw a couple $100 of you know, PLS, PLSX, maybe throw an incentive coin in there for them, and you know, and just let it mature for them, see what they can do. I did that with Hex for my niece, and I kind of wish I would have done it for the rest of my nieces and nephews, but I was just like, I just did it for her birthday, and that turned out really well for her. So yeah.
That's awesome.
You got some people wanting to be adopted here.
Can I be your nephew, Briz?
Go Briz. Go Briz. Go Briz.
Yeah, it was just, you know, just the last like little thing on there. It's like I threw like $500 and I staked it for her for like 5 years. It's still like only halfway through, and that was like when Hex was a sub penny. So so
Wow.
hopefully, yeah. So I'm, like I said, I'm doing the same thing with the PulseChain coins, and I'm like, you know what, giving it all to my nieces and nephews. So just an idea, just something I thought maybe I could help throw out there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, I mean, it's like a college fund, right? It's like, you know, by the time that they get of age, it's like maybe their college and their car and their first house is covered. You know, you don't know. Crypto can be crazy. And, you know, if they're young and it's 10 years down the line, 10 years in crypto, bro, if you're in the right ones, forget about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
So where are we on your syllabus, Maddie?
So we covered how to buy Pulse. If you want to buy Pulse X, it's you're going to run into that gas problem again where you don't have any PLS to swap. So we need, that we're in week 1, you know, going into week 2. So that's the state of things. It's hard.
Options
I-
are coming.
I know you gave out the contract addresses that you were thinking of.
Yes.
I didn't hear you, unless I wasn't paying enough attention. I didn't hear you mention how you could get the addresses yourself.
Correct. Yeah.
So when you're on the bridge and you actually go to bridge something one way or another, right? You know that when you submit it, there's a transaction on the side
Yes.
that you're submitting from. And when that's complete and confirmed, it will show up in the bridge with a link. And so if you're on the Ethereum side and you click the link, you go to Etherscan, right? Because it's PulseChain, you don't have to click the claim on the other end. You're eventually, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour, whatever it is, the PulseChain transaction will be done and your coins will be delivered, your tokens will be delivered into your address. When that happens, the second column is populated with a link to the transaction. And if you click that link, it brings you to the transaction. And it is complicated. I'm sorry about that. I didn't make it. There's a list of things that all happened in that transaction. One of them clearly says X amount of tokens were put in your wallet with your wallet address. And it has the symbol for that particular asset. If you click on the symbol, you will get to the correct contract, copy paste. You can actually get. So it doesn't matter what asset it is, because I've gotten confused pretty much on this as well. So I just double check, even if I throw it into Notepad, that what I received is the same one that I'm putting in my wallet. And of course, as soon as you put it in, you you'll see a quantity, right? But that's how I've been trying to manage myself with what happens with bridging. And so the reverse is also true. If you go to Ethereum and you bridge over Pulse, well, and you get it on the other side as wrapped Pulse, whichever way you did it, that contract is the contract that it shows up.
Yes. And I fear that people will just be like sending tokens to the wrong addresses and losing all their coins.
Well, you really can't send tokens to the wrong address, right? Because it's your address. You had to own it, right? You don't.
What if you send tokens to the HEX contract? They're gone.
Yeah, but we're talking about the bridge, right?
True. That is what we're talking about. But we're also trying to walk, like if you don't already know, it's like these are new people who are going to make mistakes like that. And I really don't know how to like warn people about that.
Yes, I think if people copy paste addresses and they don't know where they're going with them and they drop them and send things, yeah, that's probably bad. But
what you're talking about is like, how would somebody find the token address so that they can add it to MetaMask?
Yeah, correct. So that you know that you
token that you're importing, not somewhere you're sending it to.
Correct, as an import.
Yes.
So that you can see it and you know what it is. Because where that comes in handy too, Maddie, later is when you're trying to do things like, and again, this is probably way above, so I won't get into the LP stuff.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
But I mean, you can't. It's very difficult to just look at a list and figure out which one's the right one. You need the contract address. And so even if you said, "Oh, I bridged over my EHEX," this is great, right? You need to make sure you have the right address if you're going to do some sort of swapping with that, particularly if you're going to try to buy more of it on Pulse, right? Or vice versa.
Yes.
I've been telling all my onboards just to be going to pulsex.com, and next to each on the drop down menu, there's like a little copy button next to each coin, and then I just have them copy that and paste that into their MetaMask.
Yes. Very, very good suggestion. Sandy Beach says, I always check at least 2 different resources.
Go Sandy.
Yeah.
Go Sandy. Well, that's what happens, right? I have a success with one thing because it worked and it was the right thing. I go back and look because I think that that's still right. You know, and unfortunately, the last couple of days, there have been people launching scam coins with labels that look just like the regular coins. You have to be very careful about that.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw a fake ink token earlier today that was like at $7. But luckily, you know, I mean,
it was fake.
I think a lot of people could get fooled by that one. It was on Dex Screener. So you would have to like manually import that into like the PulseX exchange. But you know, if you're looking over there, just double check the contract addresses and compare them against the other ones, because the legit ones, there'll be multiple pools with the same address.
So another thing that that I think people should know about is Time Pays Me. I saw like more people keep asking about it, especially now that people see the PulseChain is here. Their PLS tokens in some cases have appreciated from a starting value of 0. PulseChain is already up infinity%. And but for other people, they're comparing it to like the amount that they sacrificed to be part of a sacrifice set that was not guaranteed to get any tokens, but just from the grace of Richard Hart appear to have been airdropped these PulseChain and PulseX tokens. Well, so you've got these things, and what PulseX appears to be trading around the same value of SAC rate at 1/1000th of a penny, or of a dollar. I mean, 1/10,000th of a dollar, and then PulseChain coins are trading at something like 2.5, 1/10,000ths of a dollar, which is up like 250% from that SAC rate. And so naturally, people are thinking like, wow, nobody has gas yet. Like the centralized exchanges haven't listed it yet. The marketing machine of crypto hasn't started screaming it from the rooftops yet. And some people are saying like Cosmo Jenkins, I believe, was the one saying like, hey, what are people going to do when PulseChain becomes worth, a penny or 10 cents per coin? And a lot of people were chiming in and saying like, hey, yeah, Maddie's building this thing called Time Pays Me. It allows you to time lock your PulseChain and PulseX tokens. And then they drip back to you over the time that you select. And so, yeah, that is coming. It's in active development. It's coming very soon. And so I just wanted to update people on that I really haven't released the full write-up of what Time Pays Me is, just because I think people who are paying close attention, they understand it. They've heard every aspect of it. But I just, in case a competitor comes along, I don't want them to just have like super easy access to everything and to all these great ideas. And so when Time Pays Me is ready, like you will get the full demo video. You will get to see the glory of undoing a hack, time locking any ERC or PRC20 token, of even doing a behavioral lock, not just a drip or a hard time lock. So lots of really cool stuff there. Super excited about it. Team is working diligently, and a lot to look forward to there. There is no token and there's no sacrifice. The only catch is a 0.1% fee. That's extremely fair, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah, that's great. I can't wait for that to be part of my onboarding process and to even discuss with my existing onboards. I've got a couple of group chats going where I try to keep people updated to like, the stuff that's necessary, because it's hard for people that aren't like way down the rabbit holes like we are to keep up with all the information. So I mean, that's one of the things I like here, where it's like you guys distill it down to where it's accessible to noobs, and then, we kind of venture off into some more esoteric and specific stuff for the people that are really, hungry for it. So it's a great way to distill down hundreds of streamers and tweeters, commentary and information here on the Game Theory Games. So speaking of game theory, I am like just chomping at the bit, and then, like, if you guys aren't ready, we can kick it down the road for a minute. But about my thoughts on validating, my thoughts on yield farming, my thoughts on why the pulse price hasn't mooned yet. Like, I would love to share where my hamster wheel brain is on all this stuff. And,
take it away, guys. We've covered the basics of how to buy Pulse at the end of the first week. We've talked about the future is bright because you'll be able to pay your future self with PulseChain and PulseX. So you can save yourself from the mad gains and dollar cost average out over time. And now let's talk about the more complicated and finer points of earning yield in the PulseChain PulseX game.
Yeah, let me start off with I was talking to Motley the other night, and it's like he's validating, I'm validating. And we were kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of joking around, like, man, it's like we got to stop talking about how great validating is, because it's like we're just getting competition for our yield, right? And then what kind of happened without expecting it is, and it gives me a little bit of buyer's remorse, to be frank, the yield is so much better on yield farming. And if you're careful and you understand impermanent loss, and you pick the ones that are more likely to not, wreck you with impermanent loss, and you understand it's a long-term game, it's silly. Like the ink yield on like the HEX EHEX pair and the PulseX pair, even, that's like the least APY of all of them. And still, it's like a tenth. Let's see, it's about a tenth. Like what I've got in the PulseX liquidity pool is about 20% of my total Pulse and PulseX bags, my SAC bags. About 20% I put over there, and I am making 3 times as much dollar value wise in ink token than I am on the other 80% of my Pulse bag validating.
Interesting.
It's bonkers. And then just like, man, it's like maybe I should pull some of those validators offline and just do more liquidity and do more farming. But I'm already rolling, and I mean, if you're doing any more than 10, it's like it's a lot of work, and it's like for people that have messed with the launch pad and are using the validator, it's not buggy necessarily, but it's like it'll tell you that a transaction failed. Like you have to deposit 32 million Pulse for every validator you want to run. So when you go through that process, like if it fails, it doesn't give you a chance to rerun it. But then if you check over on Beacon Chain, it may have actually gone through. So it can get a little maddening, but they have started to do some updates, because like one of the problems was, let's say you have like 100 validators, right? Like Motley is, insinuated that he's doing like 300 validators, right? And so if you're doing a boat ton like that, and you go through and you mess up, and then you have to like get out of that and go back into it, it would show you all of your key store addresses, all 300 of them, let's say, as though you had deposited none of them. So then you have to figure out like, well, which ones did I deposit and which ones didn't I? And it's a bit of work. I mean, it's like it took me like more than an hour of spreadsheeting to reconcile between like what was on Beacon Chain and what that was telling me to finally get it right. And then I had 7 duplicate deposits, and there's warnings all over the place. Like if you duplicate deposit, you'd lose it. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just lost 32 million Pulse times 7. Fuck. I mean, and then all of a sudden,
but you didn't lose. You didn't.
But I didn't.
Because it
But
came
I
back to
didn't.
you.
But that's the happy story at the end. I'm sorry.
That's the happy. Yeah, you're still on my silver lining, bro. So the cool part.
Well,
was,
I am kind of boring, so I wanted to get something in there.
You're stealing my silver lining. But I talked to Feeder about it, and he had, on testnet, there was a script that you would run to withdraw your deposits. So he was like, it's no big deal, bro. It's like, we'll go in there, we'll withdraw it all, and then you just redeposit those, the ones you got left. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at my yield address, which is where your rewards go for validating. And all of a sudden, I'm like, dude, I got like 96 million Pulse. I'm like, how in the world is my yield like that? That's no way that's right. And I'm like, wait a minute, 96 is like, that's divisible by 32. And so what was happening is, as it came down to like make those validators active, it saw that I had double deposited, and then it just kicked the duplicate back to me in my yield address. So I'm like, okay, cool. So it actually made that a lot better. And then also, if you have to go out of that launch pad and back into it, now it will literally tell you deposit already completed for particular addresses, so you don't have to guess like which ones are real and which ones aren't. So if you go out and back in, it's like not as big a pain in the ass as it was a few nights ago. So that, with all that being said, it's like I still think validating is a valid thing. It's like I think it's very important, obviously, for the network. It is a fair amount of work. It's like you got to make sure that you got the right equipment, that you understand the scripts that you're typing in, and that you're getting them from trusted sources, that you have solid Wi-Fi connectivity and solid energy support. So like I've got a whole house generator, and then I've got APC backups. So for that split second, if my power goes out, then I'm not offline and potentially getting slashed. And it's something you do have to monitor. It is a little bit of a job. And for me, it's like, as I learn more about it, I'm like, this is the way to go, dude. It's like, it's kind of like staking, right? It's like I'm earning yield for like taking my stuff off the market. And, but then all of a sudden the yield farms are just melting my brain. So in addition to the Pulse X pool that I participated in, I went ahead and bridged over about 20% of my 25% of my liquid HEX on the Ethereum side. I bridged it over. It took about 50 hours on the bridge because it was at that point. Bridged it over, paired it up with an equal dollar value of my HEX on PulseChain, and started yield farming that, and earned a even better return than on the Pulse X pair. And with both of those, I'm not too concerned about impermanent loss because I'm bullish on Pulse X, HEX, and eHEX. So I feel like those are kind of the safest bets as far as liquidity pool providing and yield farming go. And it was going so well, I'm like, heck, man, I'm going to move the rest of my eHEX over. So I did, and that was like 2 or 3 days later. And I was fully expecting, like, I literally set a reminder on my phone to check like every 24 hours because I thought, okay, I'm going to wait another 2 or 3 days for this to come across. It came across in 20 minutes. So the bridge is
Nice.
flying now, right? And this was like last night or night before, I can't remember. And so now I've got all of my EHEX that I had held liquid paired up with all of my PHEX pretty much, and have that in that pool, and I'm earning ink every day, and ink is going ape shit. So especially with a bull market around the corner, it's like, I think that that's a great way for people to like make money on their free copies. And if you're and just, but be aware, it's a long-term game. The way that liquidity pools work is that you're going to end up with more of the cheaper token over time. So if that's bothersome to you, then be aware. And the ink token will kind of help make up that difference. But if you're trying to hop into a liquidity pool and get right back out with as volatile as things are, you're going to get wrecked. So like, just do your research, learn about it if you want to participate in that way. But the yield is badonker donks. And then the last piece of all that is that I think the reason that Pulse is not pumping like a lot of people anticipated, we got a few factors. One is the bridge, right? There's a lot of people that are trying to bring money over and hadn't been able to, or they pumped the brakes on it because the bridge was cloggy. And so that economic energy hasn't come in to buy that. And then maybe once it gets there, people are like, holy moly, look at what ink token's doing. So they're aping into ink, right? And if you look on the blockchain, you see people selling EHEX and HEX on Pulse for ink. They're chasing the green candles. It's like, that's what people do. I personally don't think that that's a great long-term strategy, but to each their own. But I think that that's part of the problem with Pulse not pumping, is that some of that economic energy is either delayed or being diverted to people chasing the shiny thing in our ecosystem now, which is ink, right? Which I don't think's bad, but buyer beware, because things that go up fast tend to correct hard, and you got to be careful with how you're doing that. I think there's tremendous upside for ink though, but still, just be warned. And then the last piece is that as far as people in the situation we talked about earlier, where they sacrifice for Pulse X, they don't have any Pulse in their wallet, and they're kind of in this weird limbo where it's like, hey man, it's like, I sacrificed a shit ton for Pulse X because I didn't get it on Pulse. And when this thing launches, I'm going to swap half of that so I can get a good chunk of Pulse token. And then they don't have any gas to do it. So until that gets worked out, that's that much more buy pressure on Pulse that's not happening, right? So I think, it's a coming. I think Pulse is going to, I think the 10X that I was anticipating is around the corner. It's just a matter of like when those things kind of, filter.
I don't think we've seen anything yet, because who even has Pulse or who even has the gas, right, the Pulse to buy Pulse or to buy Pulse X or any of these things. So what we're really seeing now, the majority of the volume is probably the 40,000 people who got into the game already. So it's going to be amazing once OKX opens up.
I'm wondering about maybe of that $151 million that has passed through the bridge so far, I wonder how much of it is actually still sitting on the sidelines waiting to get converted, because maybe people sent over assets without having Pulse.
Good point.
Hey, a couple things to throw out there on the ink farming, right? The other thing to be aware of is that as more people participate, the lower the yield, right? I think, not that I think any will be pulled at any one time, but those farms are not guaranteed to be available all the time. And even though I do love it, and I see exactly what Toby's saying, let me tell you, you see what some of these addresses are getting for ink, you would be astonished. I still wouldn't go 100% in any one direction, right? So you got to pick something, and 25%. There's nowhere else you're going to continue to generate free PLS other than, it's not even free because you're validating, but where you're going to be able to generate PLS. On the ink token, this is a touchy subject, right? Because this is definitely a potential for people to get dumped on, but because the price goes down, people might buy, right? Or they see it go up, and they think it's going to go up. It's very possible. I didn't understand it as well as I do now, and I probably still don't understand it. It is very possible, I understand from talking to other people, that this thing will go to $1,000 a token. And at first you go, well, there's no way. Well, I don't know, man. It's at $70 almost now, between 60 and 70 now. A simple 10x and Hart's Law gets you to 600. But here's what I learned, right? I get it out, and I said, well, I wanted to get some more hex, so I swapped the hex. Well, the next day I couldn't earn as much, right? It's like a super TShare in a way, right? Then the next day I can't earn as much. And the next day I can't earn as much. So if I don't hold it, I don't have it, and I can't earn as much, right? And so those who sell will not be able to get back in and get the same amount of ink without doing a lot more, by either buying off the market or do a lot more.
I am not sure that that's exactly how it works, because the inflation schedule for ink is 1 per second. No matter what, there's always 1 per second going to somewhere. And what's that?
There's 3 per second.
Oh, they tripled it. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 3 per second. The math still works out that after 2 weeks compared to 1 week, you have double the supply. Now, after a month, you have double the supply from there. Even if it's getting spread out to different farms, I can see the case that ink becomes incredibly rare, and I can see the case where the price falls and never gets back up.
Well, if the incentive's working right, Maddie, I get you about that part of the numbers, but if it's working correctly, the incentive's working correctly, and people are doing more LPing for farming, like the 100 people or 200 people that just decided, as we're talking about, to go do it now, right? I get less. I've been tracking it day after day. It's dropping every day for my same amount of deposited value. I'm getting less and less. It's not that it's not good. It's great. What I'm saying is
with transparency and honesty.
Yeah,
believe me. There's part of me that's like, don't talk about this stuff because it's just.
Oh no, we're going to talk about it. It's like one of the most fun things. But here's the thing: is because if I don't, so in the rat race that's being created, there's another player in here, which are the whales, right, or the sharks. They know this game already, and so what they do is they don't sell it; they stockpile it. They add it for more LP because they're going to wait forever on it. They're making the market. So what ends up happening with this thing is it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling upwards. Now, possibly it can come back down in a different direction, sure. And certainly we've seen the volatility. But I mean, it would not surprise me if by the end of tomorrow it's $100, right? And I'm not predicting that. I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me.
Hey, that sounds good to me, because I probably have the least experience here with all of you in terms of yield farming. But I did figure it out. I did put $500 of liquidity up, right?
Nice.
Because I'm not sure about all this stuff. It scares me. Okay. I have FUD. I have fear, uncertainty, and doubt when it comes to all this, because I don't like impermanent loss, and I like holding in the long term. But I'm learning, right? And so what I did, I put $500 in like 3 nights ago, something like that. And that was a big rigmarole to even figure out how to do all that, right? Even though I played around with it before, it's like every time you click a button, you're bridging stuff over from Ethereum, that's $20. And then, oh my God, it's 2,000 pulse to do this and 2,000 pulse to unwrap it and then add it to liquidity, and then take the LP token and then deposit it into the farm. And then, I want to make sure I know how to get it out. So I'm testing that. And it's like, all this. But yeah, the APY is crazy. With my $500, I think I already earned $20 or $30 worth of ink.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
So what is that, like 6% in like 3 days? That's like 2% a day.
What's the APY on that? That's insane.
So I think just a couple things that I think everyone should know about the ink is that it makes like 3 per second, and basically at the, when you do the math, at the end of year one, there should be roughly 96 million ink generated for the whole entire year. And then after year one, it gets cut in half. The inflation gets cut in half. So basically by the end of year two, there's
I
going to
thought
be
it
less.
was 10% down per year.
I heard it was cut in half.
What's your source?
The internet, Twitter.
Satoshi Nakamoto came out of hiding.
So I heard it gets cut in half every year, and so that would mean by the end of year two, there's going to be less than 150 million coins. Into year three, there's going to be less than 175 million, and year
New
four,
coins created is what you're saying.
Right.
I mean in total,
The inflation. Right.
because there's 96 million the first year,
48
Okay, that checks out.
million the second year, 25 million the third year, and basically, I don't think there's going to be more than, like, in the long run. There's going to be like a little over 200 million, and that's all there's really going to be over the
it's
coming
like the Bitcoin
years.
happenings, but it's just annualized.
And even harder, it's
Yeah.
And so, in my opinion, if it has to keep paying out these APYs to the yield farming, the value of the coins simply has to go up. And I guess if your yield, if you're earning like 13 cents of ink, then maybe you're not going to be tempted to sell. Therefore, it's going to make people hold it, and it's just going to just drive value into them. But I just feel like when there's only one ink being produced every second or less, then the value of that coin is going to have to skyrocket in order to pay out those yields. So in my opinion, I think ink might be like our Bitcoin, meaning it's going to be like $20,000 each in order to pay out all that yield farming in year 3 and 4.
100%.
Scotty does know, like, one of my favorites, super smart. You guys have had him on. I unfortunately couldn't be on when we got him on, but he and I've been chatting on Telegram about this, and and maybe you guys can help with this, because it's like I don't know the history of yield farming with other exchanges and how those incentive token things played out. My only experience was with QuickSwap, because that was the incentive token basically that was given out when Matic was doing its thing before it became Polygon. And I know that it kind of spiked and then it died, right? And then I haven't looked at it recently, so I don't know how that token's doing now. And I don't know how the tokenomics compare. But like Cake Swap, Pancake Swap, like these other places where you could do yield farming, and please forgive me with my ignorance because I just haven't researched those things. So I'm hoping you guys might be able to inform me and the viewers. How has this played out in the past with these other farms? Scotty was saying basically, yeah, it's like in the bear market, it's like look out below, but during a bull, these things could rip like nothing else.
Right. Yeah, and what Briz was saying about the supply, this is where the larger players, not even the larger players, all of us, anybody who's thinking they're going to go get ink, right? If they play it more responsibly and they just don't dump all of it, and they allocate a portion of it, 33%, 40%, or whatever, back to LPing, right? What it does is it creates a scarcity effect over time, and it just continues to collect value into those inks, right? And so it could go either way, I think, right? And this is, again, I've been talking a lot with Axis Alive about this one because it's a big deal. A lot of people are making, thousands of dollars a day, which sounds ridiculous, but true, absolutely true. And they're, and so can this continue? And it doesn't.
They're making how much a day?
Thousands, smarty.
Jesus.
Or more, right? Or more. But what the point is that this is really happening, right? And goddamn, guys, I mean, who couldn't be happy making $100 a day, right?
Well, look, if people are making a lot of money off of ink, then you need to get a tattoo, because it's like you get ink of your ink,
Yeah, right.
and
PulseX Inc. That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Or just that, or the whole
Yeah.
thing behind
Oh my
Crispy's head
God.
there. Just do all that colored out.
I
Like that
will.
would be
I'll
a cool
believe
tattoo.
it when I see it.
Hey, just a real world example. I helped one of my onboards last night do the whole thing where it's like bridging over her EHEX to Pulse and then pairing that up and yield farming it. We don't know who this person is. No one's ever going to know who this person is, so she shouldn't be angry with me. But just to give a real world example, because it's like on accruedink.com, you can put in an address and like watch what the ink yield is, like just as it builds. So it's almost like Staker app back in the day. You just find yourself compulsively checking it. Like, Jesus, it's like there's that much more already, and it's $70 a token. Oh my God. She had 200,000 hex on both chains, moved that over. So she had kept a good chunk liquid, right? Obviously. She had moved that over, paired it, and she's earning about $150 worth at the current ink prices. She's earning $150 worth a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's believable. Yeah.
And the
who's
cost, the cost is that if one of your two pairs moves against you, then you get the lesser value, basically.
But if
yeah,
she's
that's
able,
why I was saying, like, do hex, like things that you think are going to be close to parity, or like, or move up together, and Pulse
True,
and Pulse
that's
X.
what
So
I
I'm
did.
super, but I mean, like the thing, like I saw DJ Cryptomatic, God bless him, and I'll be talking to him maybe Thursday unless they uninvite me on Wake Up Hex, or What the Hex rather. He jumped into the I think it was the Pulse Ink pair, and then basically lost most of his ink, because obviously that's the thing that's mooning, and Pulse is kind of staying the same. So he was like,
Yes.
fuck that. It's like, I'm out. So he pulled out with a fair amount of impermanent loss, even though he had made some yield in a little bit of time he was there. But to me, that's a real world example of like, whatever ratio you get in at, if you're trying to get the same number of coins back out, you got to wait until that ratio, it comes back to that ratio. So my thinking is long term, if Pulse moons and ink token cools off, then you're going to get back to that ratio, and you're earning so much ink in the meantime, it's offsetting whatever that impermanent loss is. So even that one, even though it's riskier, there's still
But that's only
a
if you
way to
withdraw
mitigate
it. That's only
you
if you
can-
withdraw it.
If you no, only if you
Because
harvest-
if Pulse moons, then you lose all your Pulse because you're still providing the liquidity. and
yeah, but you
end
might
up
right,
holding
but you might want your
ink.
ink back, right? Like you might want, like you put
I
in
mean-
a 500 ink, and you might be down to 300, and it's like, so when that ratio kind of gets back closer, where maybe, like I was saying, like ink would cool off, and all of a sudden Pulse is mooning, you lose some of the Pulse that you had gained when you lost your ink, right? Because it's just a seesaw, because whenever you're losing one, it's basically buying of the other one. So, and then in addition to that, which is something I forgot about, and Hex Tangent and I covered, and I gotta get with him because he's got a spreadsheet that does it. The little hidden gem in there is that you're actually earning, like let's say the pairs Pulse and Pulse X, you're earning Pulse and Pulse X in liquidity
same
fees
time. Yeah.
at the same time on top of your ink. It's just harder to quantify because it's all folded in together. But yeah,
That's really cool.
I mean, it's really cool. But so I'd be leery of like the stable pairs. Those are risky as fuck.
May I share something and get your guys' opinions on it?
Please.
All right. So something.
Is this a new topic?
Yes.
Okay, so just to wrap up the topic that we
No worries.
have, Brisology, I know you're a fan of old man Bitcoin, or maybe you have been in the past. Maybe
I
we all
love
share that in
Bitcoin.
common, that we've liked Bitcoin from time to time. So Bitcoin's market cap versus ink. So if ink does what you guys think it can, then it's going to be a monumentous occasion whenever ink flips the Bitcoin market cap, right? Because market cap's made up and it's not real and it's not a limitation, right? Is like one argument. And
That's
so,
true.
so I've calculated for ink in year 3. Okay, so 3 years of ink. So there's 3 ink per second, and there's about 30 something. There's like 31 million seconds in a year.
I think there's 86,000 something a day. I think it comes out to 96 million a year when you times it by 3.
Yeah, correct. And so then we multiply that by 3 because we want to see 3 years in, and that's 279 million ink tokens.
No.
And then we figure out, like, let's say Bitcoin just like stays the same market cap, which right now it's 526 billion. And that would lead to a price, if you have a flippening using ink, of $1,884 per ink. There's your moon math.
Nice. I like it.
How much
Pretty
is
nice.
What do
it?
you guys think?
Sure.
So it'd be 18, almost $1,900 ink would flip Bitcoin if there are 279 million ink.
All right. I don't
Year
think there's
3.
going to be that many by
Oh
year
yeah, because it
3.
goes down like 10% or 50%. Okay.
Like I said, I
So,
heard
all right.
half.
So you need $2,500 ink. There you go.
Does anybody in the chat know? Like, could they confirm one or
It
the
was
other?
it was proposed at 10% drop per year for like 10 years or something.
Yeah, I remember
But
that. in Pulse
then
Plan.
they changed it from 1 per second to 3 per second. So
Right. So maybe that's why they got more aggressive with cutting the inflation.
we can we can update people on that next week. Another reason to tune in. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're enjoying this content. All 505 people watching, or get out. We don't need you.
Yeah.
But we
Let
want
the
you
door
here.
hit you in the ass.
Woohoo.
That's right.
Crypto bubble.
Hey, I don't think it's a very long interview, and it's like, just to touch on briefly, I found the clip of where we talked with OX Coast, so I dropped it in the
sweet.
private chat. So
Cool.
if you want to bring it up or not, or share it in the chat to everybody else, then that would be cool. It's my Twitter link, but I'd post it to Twitter.
I'll drop it here.
And then like clips, like, I don't know, I haven't figured out YouTube clips, except I think you can only do like a minute, but obviously the interview with him is longer than a minute, so just keep watching beyond the minute clip. Like, watch the whole video and it'll start you at that point. It's like about 6
There you
hours
go.
into the
Right on.
what is it, the 30 to 40 hour mark on the 48-hour stream. So on that video, it's
Yeah.
about 6.5 hours in, but if you follow that link, it'll take you right to it, and it's pretty bullish. I was super jacked after him
Right on.
explaining what's going on.
People are asking where to get the hat. The hat is a prototype from Brian Magruder and Rochelle Private Equity, and they have started a tradition of giving these out at HEX meetups only. So they're not for sale. You have to go to a HEX meetup. I have more of the PulseChain hats, so I guess that means I have to do another meetup.
That works.
Yeah.
So I bought.
This is
well,
how
I
you
bought
know you're an
tickets.
OG. Right here, you have a hat.
Yeah,
That's right.
I bought tickets, but I wasn't able to go. So am I still eligible to get one of those hats?
So let me make the announcement now. If
yes.
you paid for a meetup ticket in Miami and you did not show up and get your amazing t-shirt and hat, there's a chance that I will mail you that if you hit me up in Telegram on the private Telegram that we created for the event. And if you're super patient with me, because no expectations, and it would be coming out of my pocket to mail it to you.
Cool. The only thing
Also,
is, like,
super
your
patient.
chances of getting a hat will increase, or the shirt will increase, if you lock up a t-shirt for 5555. Just saying.
That's not how this works. I do not want the SEC thinking that you're serious.
No,
They
no.
watch all my
Hey,
shit.
That's true.
I the thing is like, I'm older, and even though like I grew up and like hip hop was starting to pop, I kind of equate the flat brim to like more hip hop style. I like a dad hat. You know what I mean? I'm not a dad, but I prefer it, like the shape of my head and face just seems to, like, you rock it. Like, it looks good on you. Me,
Oh, yeah.
that hat looks silly. I look like I'm trying too hard or something. But if he could do that as a dad hat, I'd be all over it.
They have
I
lots
could
of
do it backward.
different.
I can just do it backwards.
They
Yeah,
have
that would work.
they have lots of different styles.
Sweet. Hey,
This
how's your
hat
hat?
I
is
didn't know
doing?
the headband. I didn't know the strap part
Dude,
was
even
different
the
colors.
lining. That's cool.
Oh yeah, this hat is sick, and all the hats that they've been making are sick. And you can join t.me/hex meetup if you want to find out when my next meetup is going to be. But I'll probably talk about that on here
There's a
too.
lot of cool
And-
details.
Did he
Yes.
have some of these to give away again? These things are awesome, dude. Let me find some here. He's sent these to me a couple times. He's so freaking nice. But I was talking about how awesome these metal cards are, and it's got.
I think some people found those inside their hats, like just randomly.
Oh, right on. Cool. Yeah. So you had the black one, the pink one, and a gold one, and it's got QR codes on it. I'm like, I wonder where the QR code takes you. It just takes you to hex.com or pulsechain.com. So it's perfect. So I actually gave one of these away today, and the guy's eyes like lit up because when they hit a counter, I don't know if you could hear that or not.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're like metal, clanky, heavy, cool little attention getters. And
so did you guys see what got listed today on Crypto Bubbles?
Hey,
no way!
Shout out to Funding Jim for helping to make that happen behind the scenes.
Sweet.
Thank you, Gary. You're the man.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you can see, we got freaking Pulse and PulseX, and man,
Can you click on it?
Yeah. And
is this Banter Bubbles or Crypto Bubbles?
This is CryptoBubbles.net.
That's cool. I'm gonna bookmark that because I see people post it and stuff, but it's like there's never like a link. It's just like the picture. CryptoBubbles.net.
CryptoBubbles with an S.net.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, bro. Yeah, that's cool.
And then there might be a version of that. There might be a version of that coming out that is on Crypto Banter's version. That when you click on it, it brings up like the most popular tweets, and it like gives you a buy button, and it does all this other cool stuff.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love it.
That's so cool. Thanks for sharing, Briss. I think we should make that part of our show regularly to have those bubbles floating around.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Tiny bubbles.
Also, if you guys don't mind, I would like to play a little game with everybody in the audience, and basically.
It has to like fit within the legal framework of the show.
Yeah, no. This is just
go ahead and let me know what you got.
Leave a comment in the comment box. So let's see. Let me share this.
Do not post your seed words.
So I was kind of looking at the PLSX, and we all know that it has this like gigantic buy and burn feature on it, which is really, really cool. And so I was just wondering if maybe we can just get guesses from the crowd of their prediction of how much PLSX will be burned by next episode of Game Theory.
Ooh.
Hey, can I ask a question before, so I can have a more informed answer? And this is another admission. I've been no excuses. Can you tell me what the fucking buy and burn is on PulseX? Because I heard there was like a button you'd push and it would like burn it and like something, and it's like I've never seen a button. It's
all
like,
right, so I'll tell.
Give me like the.
Do you mind if I take the reins on this one, Maddie?
Go for it.
All right, this will be like a little bit of a 2-minute, rant or a spiel, because just like you, I was thinking, what the heck is PLSX kind of like for? Like the whole point of these cryptos is basically you kind of want to know. The question is, who's going to buy this coin after me? Right, Toby? You want to know, if I buy this coin, who's going to buy this coin after me? And with a lot of these coins, you're just going to, you don't know. You're like, well, there's more adoption coming. We're going to get more people to buy these coins. But with PulseX, or the PLSX coin, there's always a buyer of last resort. And that buyer happens to be the PulseX exchange. So what happens is every single time there's a trade on the PulseX exchange, it takes a small fee, and then it takes that fee and it buys up the PulseX coin off the market, and basically that generates buy pressure, and then it burns the coin, eliminating any potential sell pressure. Nice. So when you ask yourself, who's going to buy this coin after me? Well, it's basically anybody that is using the PulseX exchange. And so this coin is going to have constant buy pressure as long as people are using the PulseX exchange. And the PulseX exchange is, it's going to be very, very, it's very popular already. And, another thing you can think about is like you look at that money that came through the bridge. There's $150 million that came through that bridge. And that money isn't just going to come over and just sit here. They're going to take that money and now they're going to trade it for another coin. And the cool thing is that we have 150 million in that, that went through that bridge, but and then people are going to make that trade, but most of the time people aren't just going to do one trade. They're going to make another trade so that money can flow through the exchange and collect all the fees and burn up all buy and burn all the PLSX, but then that money can they're going to trade again and that money's going to flow right back through the exchange, and basically it can do that multiple times. I forget who said it, but somebody kind of brought up the idea that if a mechanic pays for his lunch, or someone pays a mechanic $100, and then that mechanic pays his electricity bill, and then they pay whatever, that $100 just paid for like $600 worth of goods. And so there's just a lot of potential buy pressure without needing more and more and more money to come in. So
Right on.
it's actually pretty cool. And that makes me extremely bullish, because I heard the number was basically for every $1 billion that flows through the exchange, about $600,000 of PLSX will be bought and burned.
So is that hey Maddie, can you bring up Declan's comment again, because it was on there for a second and I thought that yeah, there you go. So that's basically what you're saying right there, Briz, right? 0.06%. So $1 billion would be 600K.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. No wonder K4K just can't shut up about it.
What do you guys think about Binance faking its volume to try to pretend like it's still the number 2 exchange?
What?
Sounds
They
like
got caught.
sounds
They
like
got
my
caught.
ex-girlfriend. She faked everything. Sounds like they're
Okay.
scared. It's like, hey, it looks like
This is This is
I
a
faked
huge
it once.
story. I think Sami broke it, and he pointed out that they created a new token contract called One, and it's just it created more volume than Bitcoin has
What?
in a day, wash trading between 5 accounts.
Dude,
So the cope
CZ
is
better watch himself.
hard.
Yeah,
The cope is
they're
hard
scared.
that they're losing. I mean, they're losing in transparent on-chain data to PulseX already.
Wow.
And we always
Wow.
known that these guys do wash trading. We always knew that their
Yes.
volume has been pretty fake. But
Yes.
I think a lot of normal people don't realize what's going on with these exchanges.
Well, yeah, because until you see it, look at the data yourself. You
Somebody
don't
says
realize it's
anybody
true.
could have made it. It doesn't have to be Binance. Okay, fair point.
But why would anyone else do it?
Yeah.
Why
right.
would CoinMarketCap keep gatekeeping whenever PulseChain and PulseX aren't they like already in the top 10 cryptos or something? Can somebody fact check me on that? In terms of market cap, if you count the OA coins,
For which one?
PulseChain,
Both.
isn't it in the top 10 already?
Oh, it has to be, right? I mean, there's trillions.
PulseChain has a market cap of 32 billion.
And let's
And
see.
so that puts
135
it
trillion.
at
135 trillion coins. So
that puts it at what, number 5? Oh, I lost my place. Puts it at number 5. PulseX is already the number 5 coin.
it's like what, $30
Crypto,
billion
basically.
market cap thereabout.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Which is that higher than Hex?
Yeah, currently.
Wow.
Well, I mean, according to the sites.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd have to,
Yeah.
crazy.
They're scared. They are worried about Richard Hart, man. They gatekeep him on page 3. They're creating fake volume. Guys, we're winning. We are winning. So I would like people in the chat to put a guess on how much PLSX is going to get burned by next week. It's at 53 billion today.
53 billion got burned today.
No. 53 billion has been burned
To date.
since launch. Yeah.
Got it. So I don't know, maybe by this time next week, it's got to be more than double. I'd say if we've done 53 billion so far, my guess would be like 136.9 billion.
I'm going with 2
billion.
No, 200.
200. All right. Nice. I'm going to go conservative and say 90 billion.
Gotta reach for the stars, Briz. 200 billion.
Go big or go home.
By the way, I lost every crypto bet I've made this last couple of
90
years.
bill. Crypto Winter Bull.
But I'll take it.
He's saying 90 bill. Got 127, 222. Yeah, I got some good guesses.
Go
Maddie,
free speech.
What's your guess?
What's it at now?
53 billion.
100.
All right. So we're at 2 hours in. So timestamp this, and maybe we can check back our guesses next week.
Hell yeah.
If someone can write down in the comments below all of our guesses. One more time, 90 billion, Toby?
Yeah, 136.9 billion.
Maddie?
100.
And Crispy?
I said 200. Well, I'm
All
leveraging.
right.
I'm leveraging hard, man.
Crispy's at, I'll put it all here in the chat, so it's kind of grouped up. Crispy's at 200 billion. And Briz, you were what,
90 billion.
Oh, just at 90, okay. Oh, conservative.
Yeah.
That's right. And then Maddie, what was yours?
100 billion.
Yes. 100 billion.
All right, kitty, come on, get out of here. I already fed you, bro. Stop. Let me see. What do I else have on here?
So Hotbit broke down today. So if you have coins on Hotbit, get them off now. Your chance to withdraw is closing in. I thought it was kind of ironic that somebody posted like Hex users unaffected, but I think Hotbit listed Hex. So Hex users may be affected. Although to be a real Hex user, we like taking self-custody.
Yep.
And it's unlikely that a huge amount of Hex was sitting on Hotbit. Me, I was a Hotbit user, sure. But haven't used it in a long time. I think I removed all my coins many moons ago. But there it is.
I've never used Hotbit.
Man, Crispy, we never should have talked about the Hex pair. The yield's already dropping.
Because see, that's what happens, right?
Dang
Everybody goes in.
Gotta quit sharing.
But that's okay. That's okay, right? I mean, that's
it's good.
That's what it's for. That's what it's
I noticed earlier today on Twitter, PLS and PLSX was trending, and they at one point had 1.6 million tweets.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome.
Dig it.
I'd give a shout out on, related topics. Give a shout out to David Feeder. So I told you guys a couple weeks ago I ordered a validator. So I did get my validator.
Nice.
It took me a couple days to free up some time to actually do it, but I probably could have done it a lot sooner than I did. But I got the validator. Feeder got on the horn with me less than about an hour. I talked too much. So we were talking about non-related things, but we ended up about an hour to get it set up. Sent the deposits. All set, done, waiting to go into rotation. There's a 3-day wait to get in, 3 to 4 day wait. So anybody who's interested in that stuff, and now I saw RH Max today had another video out, and Feeder is running validatorstore.com. So
You guys feel like looking at the EHEX chart?
Absolutely. I have one more note about exchanges,
Sure.
though. So I want to give a word of caution to people who are going to use OKX. I know we love them because they're listing PulseChain, but remember, this is the exchange that we've warned you about. Appears to be doing some sort of FTX thing with their own token, OKB. OKB token, Sami broke this story a while back, maybe a month ago. He thinks that this is like the FTX token, that they're faking it. It's ranked number 24. The number 24 crypto is this OKB coin that's associated with OKX. What this means for us is that you might want to only transact like small amounts. Like I would not put $100,000 onto OKX at any one time. I would batch that into much, much smaller transactions. And remember, when you send your crypto to a centralized exchange, like not your keys, not your cheese.
Right.
So, just be careful there. Like it's still, in my opinion, it might still be acceptable to use it, but to understand the risk.
Yeah, make sure, Richard said, maybe split it up into 10 segments. So, if they screw you, they can only screw you for a tenth of your your bag.
Oh, and they have mandatory KYC after $5,000. Good to know. So we have a pathway for people to buy, PulseChain using Coinbase and going through the whole complicated, steps that we talked about earlier. If you're worried about not being able to unwrap Pulse and go play in the big leagues, you can always use OKX to buy $100 worth of PulseChain and then use the decentralized method to do the rest.
And I think you can use like a debit card or a credit card, right? On the website.
Well, it could be, and of course, Staker app they have on ramps too that would probably be pretty slick for most people. That also reminds me, like the video that Hexo did, he explained like using your credit card to buy PulseChain, and I would also warn people against that. Sometimes credit cards hit you with giant, massive fees. They basically do a like a payday advance loan type of thing where they can charge like some stupid amount of they can charge like 20%. And then they work it so that if you don't pay off your entire credit card, then it doesn't pay off. Like, I think that sometimes this is how it works, which is like really slimy, is like it's really hard to even pay it off because they
get
screw you on
that. You pay your lower. I think there might have been some legislation that addresses this, but I know in the past what would happen is, like, let's say you had something that was a cash advance and then something that was just a normal purchase and then something that was like a balance transfer, and you had 3 different rates. Like one was like 2%, one was like 6%, one was like 14%.
Yeah.
As you paid down your balance, it would pay off the lower interest rate stuff first.
Yes.
So the high interest rate would hang there to the bitter end and just wreck you. Yeah.
So that's why I would like really encourage people, like, if you're gonna do this, go do like the one extra step to connect your bank account to Coinbase. Don't connect your credit card, because you can, and by doing a debit card to your bank, you're connecting your actual bank account and you're not incurring these like high predatory payday loan cash advance fees. Thank you for coming into my TED Talk.
Yeah, it seems right now for me, it just seems like Coinbase, you load up there, move your stuff in the MetaMask, bridge it over, and as long as you have some Pulse, you got your assets over there. And then you just kind of figure out how to get some Pulse. Seems like the best way, in my opinion, currently.
ChrispyMan, thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to do a shout out for Dipcatcher as well. That gas exchange, or what's he calling it?
Gas bridge.
Yeah, gas bridge works awesome. And,
can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so Dipcatcher from the Maximus DAO community, right? The guy that coded these Maximus DAO contracts, created a gas bridge. If you want to take Pulse and make it available to people on Ethereum, let me start over. If you want to take your Pulse and make it available for people to use on the PulseChain, you can deposit your Pulse into the contract that he's created. And if you're on the Ethereum side and you would like that Pulse on the PulseChain, you can deposit Ethereum on the Ethereum side. His contract does the calculations. There's a ratio, and at the end of the day, it's kind of like the AA from the old HEX days. Whatever the ratio is the ratio. You go in and claim your Pulse if you were receiving Pulse, and if you're going to be receiving ETH, you go receive your ETH. And so it's a bridge of gas.
Cool.
And it works, and you can do it for whatever quantity you want. And there's no, there's a send fee, but it's not the normal bridging fee, expensive bridging fee. So it was really, really cheap. And even on the ETH side to receive it, it was like $5.
Is there a link for people that would want to learn more about that?
I'll drop it in the private chat for you guys, for
Cool.
Maddie to decide if he wants to put that up.
Right.
Now I'll tell you how I used it. I wanted to test it, right? How I used it is I created a brand new address, and I sent.
And why did you do that?
And Maddie, I'm glad you asked. Why did I do that? While I trust but verify, I created an address because I was going to connect up to something new, even though it wasn't really much of a connection. But nevertheless, it was something new, and I never planned to use that address again, so I just pushed it through.
Smart.
But anyways, it's awesome because you can see some really. I mean, listen, guys, not everybody has a lot of cash, right, or a lot of assets. So you see people coming through getting 1,000 Pulse. Maybe it's just enough to get them started, or 10,000 Pulse. And if you really want to go check it out and help people out, you can actually go over there and pay for people's fees. You don't have to be the wallet that actually pays to get it out of HOC, right? So they're offering maybe some sort of a incentive for that in the future. Where, like for instance, I know Bruce, this isn't you, but let's say you were strapped and I knew that, right? And you sent over your 0.001 ETH, and you're going to get your, I don't know how many Pulse. You're going to get your 1,500 Pulse. I can go in there and just claim it for you, and they'll go in your wallet.
Oh, cool. So
I could do you a solid, right? And that's a way that you can help, and it's pretty, and at least that way, it's also a way, if people were so inclined. I'm not suggesting people go out and do this, right? But I'm just saying I did a few extra ones while I was in there, why not?
Cool. And that, for people listening, it's gasbridge.anvil.app.
I'm going to check that out after the show more.
Gasbridge.anvil.app. Cool.
Yeah, the one thing I would caution people on is it does a ratio. So it's however much Pulse went in for the day and however much ETH went in for the day. So most of the day, it looked like you might get a premium of 10 or 20% on your Pulse. But in the last moment, what do you think happened? Somebody deposited a whole bunch of Pulse. So you end up just making out just a little tiny bit. So it really is it's not meant to be a moneymaker. It's not meant to be a play. What it's meant to be is to help people get in and get Pulse. That's what's going on there.
Right on. I just discovered
Somebody's
something
asking about more coin tracking alternatives, and we had mentioned earlier lightbeam.xyz, hexdailystats.com, prc20s.com, plsburn.com.
Yo, you want to do Hopium tonight before we close?
Oh yeah,
Like mega
Don't
Hopium.
Don't forget the charts.
Toby wants to do charts too.
Yeah,
wanna do a quick chart.
If Toby, you're going to do your charts now?
Quick chart.
Do your charts, and then I'll follow up with my chart because I
Okay, cool.
Sweet.
Right on.
show you this thing.
So basically, this is still the Ethereum hex because TradingView, I didn't realize until literally just now, apparently, because I've clicked over to Dex Screener, has TradingView functionality on their charts. So I can start messing around and doing some patterns here. So that's awesome because I've just been stuck with the eHex. So pretty much same old, here's where we hit the bottom of the giant white wedge, worked our way up, topped out around 12 cents, and then we started working our way down this magenta channel. A little bit of a bull trap, dumpage with mainnet launch, and the big buck fiat candle down with his dumpage and others. And then we've kind of bounced back around, and you can see the midline here of the magenta channel. So that's been resistance as we've tried to break back in, and not only the midline, but you can see that's the top line of the white wedge. So we have made some attempts at that, and we've been rejected thus far. So typically with any pattern, as I've explained before, with a parallel channel, you're looking at the height of the channel as being the distance of the move. So here we're on a 1-day chart, a little clearer on the 3-day. So on the 3-day chart, you can see here that a full measured move, which is the height of the parallel channel, if this is indeed a breakdown, would actually take us right down near the bottom of that white wedge again, which is about 1.4 cents. I don't see us getting there, but, stranger things have happened. So we're kind of in this cautionary area. A level of support on the way down would be a really consistent support and resistance region from the past, which is about 1.9 cents. If we do continue lower, then I would look for extreme resistance, or I'm sorry, support rather, at 1.4. So if you want to set some limit orders down there to maybe get a dip, I think this dip below it was just total anomaly, people dumping because of the news about mainnet launch. So on the upside, I think we'd be working our way back up. Next horizontal would be about 2.8. The next horizontal above that is curiously right at the midline of the magenta parallel channel, which is at 8.2. And then further, that would also get us a little closer to trying to break back into the break back above the white wedge. And the next area target to the upside would be 3.8. Lastly, 4.3. If we break out of that, let's say that happened. Let's say there's some crazy nonsense in the next week. If that broke out there, the measured move from that breakout would put us back up to a local high we had over here at about 8.2, 8.3. So that's
that big red wick down, that to me kind of looks like it's like one major player just trying to like exit or something.
Well, and liquidity dried up.
Yeah. And
so they had huge slippage on that.
And so that kind of, again, that makes me kind of bullish on Hex, in the long term, as in that I think it's a lot more scarce than people realize.
Yep. And then just to flip over here, and I just put this line in like while we were talking, I'm like, wait a minute, this has got TradingView. Like this is TradingView, right? But it's on Dex Screener. So this is the Hex wPLS chart. So, just like to have a scary peek inside my brain, the way this works would be we would copy that or clone it, and then we'd see if we can start to make some patterns appear, right? So this to me looks like potentially a big triangle forming, right? Relatively symmetric. And if you really wanted to get kind of moon mathy fun on where this could be going, this could all be a bull pennant. So if that's a bull pennant, typically what happens with those is those will move the height of the flagpole. So you take that flagpole and you move that bad boy over here, and then let's go down and see where that takes us. That would take us up to 5 cents.
All right.
So talk about some moon math. That's pretty wild. Well, I'm sorry, not 5 cents. What is it? That's hex wPLS. So that's 0.05 of that ratio. So as far as how that equates to dollars, I'm going to have to play around with this a little bit and get to terms that I like better, which is dollars.
Yeah.
But it gives you an idea generally of the pattern that could be playing out, which looks like potentially a bull flag. If nothing else, it definitely a symmetric triangle. And typically symmetric triangles, if that's all it is and it's not a bull flag, just to kind of in summary here, those typically will move the height of the triangle. So typically you find like after 2 or 3 touches on the top and bottom to pick your area that you're going to measure the height. So in that case, if we break out, and normally triangles about 80% filled is where the breakout point is. So that would probably be right around where I dropped that one. So that takes us up to something more realistic. Here is 375, which is still below the wick high. So, but I'll play around with these a little more, see if I can find an actual like hex die pair or something to, or USDC even ideally on PulseChain to play around and chart with, because I know people like to see the potential size of the moves and when they could be happening. So thanks for letting me share.
I will allow the chart to move up and to the right.
Up
I like it.
to the right.
I like it. I like it. Little Toby 1 TA time on Game Theory Gang.
Well, thank you for that.
No problem, man. It's fun. I love it. And then, Crispy, you said you had some charts of your own?
I have a chart.
Okay.
Not quite as moon mathy as it might otherwise be, but if Maddie throws it up on the screen, I'll describe it. So previously we've talked about how, so you're doing TA type stuff, Toby, right? Mm-hmm. So this is more of hey, what if PulseX does what BNB did, right? So very inexact science, but I think what it does is it kind of puts things in perspective in a different way. So it's not quite as moon mathy as I might want it to be, but it gives you an idea of what might be considered to be a similar token, right? Has done in the past.
Conservative path, you think?
Yeah, this is fairly conservative because what it would show is starting from about the time my data started for BNB, it shows very similar types of pricing as what we're at right now, right around that 3 zeros and a 1 type of a number. And it does show quite an extended period of kind of like, I wouldn't say down to the right, but kind of like bouncing around, right? Maybe it's a little bit sideways. Maybe even getting to a point where people would be so upset because it capitulated at 4 zeros and a 3. But then running into the bull, or presumed bull, getting as high as 2 zeros and a 2. Maybe 2 zeros, 2, 5, something like that. So a very inexact science, but just a comparison, right? Which is, what is that? If we're 2 zeros and a 2, what would we say? What would you say that SAC price is again for PulseX?
0.0001.
So we're still going with the 1, right? So it's a
Pulse
mild
or PulseX.
PulseX.
PulseX. Okay. Because if you're
We'd say there's 10,000 per $1, right? So that would be 3 zeros and a 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so if it was 3 zeros and a 1 is our start, and we use that. We're talking about a modest 25x, right, on PulseX. And so this is a very modest, conservative type of a play, right? Not saying it'll be less or more, just an example comparing it. But what's cool about that, I don't know if other people were surprised by it. I was surprised by how that gap closed so quickly between PulseX and Pulse. You know, because we were sitting at that almost 4 ratio, 3.5 ratio for quite a while. Felt like weeks. I know it was days, but it felt like weeks. And then we went all the way. Yeah, we went all the way to 2. You know,
Time moves slower here.
Yeah. And then somebody had put it in the chat. I don't want people to go look for it. Please don't go look for it and do something. But there was a PS, you know, a PLSX fake that came out today, and I did see that. And it was somebody named it V2, and a lot of people, whether it was wash trading or not, a lot of people put money in there. You know.
Yeah, a buddy of mine got wrecked on the I think B Roots and his career behind it, from what I've heard, but I don't know. With the fake Doge and fake Pepe and fake you name it, you know, all the meme coins that got flooded in there. So just rugs waiting to happen on people, unfortunately, that aren't paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, there's even a fake BNB, by the way. I heard that today.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. There's all kinds of crap out there. That's why the contract addresses are so crucial. Like if you're trying to, you know, get a copy, then it should be the same address as what it was on ETH. Like if you're trying to trade Link, it should be the same contract address as it was over on ETH. You know, if you see a new link popping up, then be careful. You know.
Yeah. So Maddie, does this upset you? 25x upset you?
No,
25
doesn't
is
upset
good.
me at all.
Hey, Crispy, I do have a question though, because I know that there's a lot of grumbling that PulseX is trading below SAC rate, and I think it's because, you know, what people are looking at is like SAC rate is not that 10,000 to 1, but they're looking at the price because so many people put money in. So if they're looking at the sacrifice dollars versus total supply, which actually puts us, I think, around 3 zeros and a 5 or 4. Sorry, 3 zeros and a 4 as the average price based on SAC dollars. So I think that's where a lot of people are like, oh, we're still below. I can't believe people are buying below SAC rate. Well, who's SAC rate? You know what I mean? If you got in early, you got a volume multiplier, whatever, then, you know.
After everybody sees that we burned 200 billion between, you know, another 100 billion between now and next week, right? Because it's the total, right?
Right.
100 billion. Then we'll be like, oh, because that really started to dawn on me as well. Because you know, don't be surprised though with PulseX coming back. So this is non-TA type stuff. But here's the thing, guys, right? Have you seen single-sided staking yet?
That's true.
No, you have not.
Right.
And so what's going to happen when that goes? Because I haven't prepared completely for it. Oh, I'm going to go get more PulseX. And so if I get more PulseX, what happens to price? Price goes up.
And also, when you go to get more PulseX, you're also burning PulseX.
Yes, you are.
Every single trade burns a little bit of PulseX.
Yep. Yeah, and so Valen's in the chat. I appreciate him or her saying this, but 25x is life changing. But I get it. You know, I'm waiting for the 1000x too, guys. Right? So I want but I mean, you know, it's still something that we just don't know what's going to happen. But this is another token. Maybe we're going to do 10 times this.
Well, and BNB didn't have a buy and burn, right? So I mean, it's a little.
Yeah, I mean, so it's different dynamics, different example.
Right.
I'd be
I
curious
can't handle a 1000x without time pays me. I can't. I will lose all of my crypto.
I think that's a good thing to bring up, Maddie. Losing all of your crypto. I think that's a good topic because there's a lot of people that have way too paper hands on this stuff. It feels like it's free money and it's cheap, and I can't stand paying 500,000 per transaction on this stuff, but it's just so easy to degen. It's sad. It's just so easy to degen if you have these tokens. And so if you're one of the guys that has the tokens, just be careful.
I think that's also kind of like a feature of crypto, is that when the really big players, like, they get their 1000x, they do get out. They tend to get out, and what that does is distribute the coins to much smaller players who will hold for even longer to get, not even similar gains, but just to get gains. And so it kind of makes the coins, I believe, to be replaced into longer holding hands. So, I mean, just imagine if like the Bitcoin guys never sold their stuff. So I don't know. I think
The
that's,
price would be higher, and then more people would FOMO in, and then you
Right.
would kind of see that play out.
or people would just be complaining that the price is just way too high. But every time you guys see, a big dip, that's a opportunity to accumulate more. And with coins like the incentive coin, it's going to get pretty scarce in the coming years. And then the coins like PLSX, which are going to have gigantic burn features. I think K4K said a very conservative uh, uh, rate of burn we're gonna actually go through about 25% of the user controlled supply in the first year. So
Yeah, it's
you
bonkers.
know,
I'll allow it.
I saw in the chat
guys,
that apparently there's a fake ink token out now too. So be careful.
We have Hex Toys giving away a Godwill NFT.
Oh, cool.
Check it out,
I will be sure to-
twitter.com/Hex Toys official. There might be some left. It cost me
sure
like
to,
900 pulse.
Well, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's like 2 bites of a pizza.
Unless you paid 4x for your pizza, Maddie. Come on, bro.
I did the math wrong in the moment when I was talking about it on stream. I actually paid about sack rate
Oh, okay. Well, that's not too bad.
for the pizza, because it was because I was trying to match the Bitcoin story of like 20,000
Yeah.
Bitcoin getting paid. It was supposed to be 10,000, but he did a 10,000 tip.
Yeah.
So there you go.
so you paid 20,000 PLS.
Pulse for an $18 pizza.
Isn't that really like you paid $2?
Yeah,
No.
right. 20,000 pulse.
Oh,
10,000 per
is it?
dollar. Right?
Okay, maybe I keep
$3.
doing the math wrong. All right. Either way, because that's what I was trying to say was that I wanted to pay a very small amount to make the first real world transaction of Pulse make it way more valuable.
Yeah, 20,000 pulse is like
all right,
$2.
Then I did the math right the first time and not the second time.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sweet.
Well,
HEX Toys official.
I hope everybody learned something tonight. I know I did. And let's see. I'm going to be streaming solo on Thursday. Brisology, he's going to be starting his own show, I hope, soon.
Oh, nice. That'd be cool. I'd subscribe to that.
Totally. Hex Fire.
Put it in the comments if you want to see it.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to the comments now. I want to see it. All right. And then hexfire.io, he's always going live from time to time. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube to hit a ChrispyMan's channel. Toby1 Hexobi, if he's not getting uninvited, he will be on the morning show.
Yeah, we'll see.
Wake Up
if I rubbed
Hex.
them wrong. Yep, Wake Up Hex. Or no, it's What the Hex on Thursday
What
mornings.
the Hex?
And then I usually come on about the last 15 minutes to do a little TA time.
And that's on Discourse Syndicate.
It's on the Discourse Syndicate,
right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. And let's see. Yeah,
Twitter.
so
follow me on Twitter so you can get the TA
follow
updates daily.
Toby1 Hexobi on Twitter. Yeah, and then hit the like and subscribe button. Get your hardware wallet. have fun and be safe on PulseChain. Make sure to triple check the contract address that you're playing with. Don't fall for fake scam coins. And until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Oh, crazy. I look a little battle.